Hey everyone, Decav13 here, and welcome back to some more Let's Play Fate Stay Night. Alright, so now with Saber and Lancer in tow, we're gonna go rescue Rin from Archer. So, let's head on in. February 14th, day 15. After image. Oh, just right into an interlude. It is daybreak. The knight in red is leaning against a pillar and staring at his own arm. He puts strength into his fingertips and clenches his fist. Only about half of his sensations are left. Even though he is a heroic spirit, he cannot maintain his existence without a master that helps him stay in this world. Archer is existing because of a special ability that his class holds, but that is nearing its limit. The Knight in Red's remaining strength is less than a tenth of his original powers. His fists lack strength, and he should slowly start fading if he lets his guard down. But there is no problem. Even if he only has a tenth of his powers remaining, it is enough to finish Shiro Emiya off. Considering the difference in their abilities, this is not even a handicap. Therefore, it will end once they fight. His one and only objective will be accomplished here. That is right. He has been waiting for this moment. He has endured the endless repetition, hoping for this chance. He can only wait for a miracle that would not usually be able to occur, with a possibility close to zero. And his wish is granted. No. It is about to be granted. He does not care about what awaits him afterwards. He will kill his own self with his own hands. That wish, which doesn't have enough of a future to be hope, is what kept him going after he wore out. He is an existence that disappears after each summoning to start with. His memory does not remain intact, whether he repeats the cycle 100 times or 1,000 times. It only stays in his body as knowledge. Heroic spirits know about other heroic spirits because they have accumulated knowledge. It is just like a book. Every time they are summoned, the book with its history is sent to its home. They remain in the house and read the books that are sent. What is troubling is that the one in the house does not know when those books are sent. The past or the future does not matter. All the books are already in his room. His only way of measuring time is to read the records of his cleaning that he will carry out. It makes no difference whether it's an eternity or an instant. An eternity is an instant, and an instant is an eternity. Therefore, he does not know how rare this miracle is. He doesn't know whether it was the first time or 1,000th time he was summoned since he gained this hope. All he has is this unordered knowledge. The future, past, and present are all things that heroic spirits don't have. The Knight in Red suddenly gets up. Did his ears hear an intruder? Footsteps echo through the castle that should be silent. Oh, for fuck's sake. The voice echoes. The boy who entered rudely is Shinji Mato. Shinji Mato walks over with light steps. He's looking at Rin Tosaka, who is tied to a chair. The girl doesn't say anything and stares at the intruder while being tied up. That must make him pleased. Shinji Mato licks his lips in satisfaction and walks to the girl. Shinji Mato glances in annoyance at the knight, who is staring down at him in silence. Shinji Mato smiles and returns to the entrance. There stands the golden-haired boy, the eighth servant, Gilgamesh. He himself is a disaster. The golden servant looks at the knight with cool eyes. But within them, the red eyes, distorted from his smile, only have the intention to murder the enemy in front of him. The knight in red is still silent. It makes no difference whether Shinji Mato appears or the strongest servant in front of him is ready to attack him. The knight calmly stares at the uninvited enemies.
ブルってるんだろアーチャー。いいんだぜ、別に恥じゃない。あいつはバーサーカーだって難なく始末したサーバントなんだからさ。お前が落ちけつくのも当然。
リンが欲しいのか、マトシンジ。
え？ああ、当然じゃないか。そうでもなければこんな城には近寄らないよ。
そうか。ならば事が済むまで待て。エミやシロを始末した後ならばくれてやる。それまであれは私のものだ。それが聞けぬとあれば仕方がない。不本意だがここで死ぬことになるぞ、ギルガメッシュ。
The knight in red declares, still staring at the golden servant.
愉快だな、道化。
Was that statement itself good enough reason for the man to kill Archer? The golden servant identifies the knight in red in front of him as a target he must kill.
待てギルガメッシュ、早まるなよ。ことはスマートに行こう。いいじゃん、くれるってんだからもらっておこう。どうせアーチャーはマスターがいないんだ。何度も裏切ったこいつと契約するマスターなんていないんださ。ほっとけば消えるんだろう。遠坂はその後でもらえばいい。
Shinji Mato stares at the red knight, still smiling. His eyes look as if he's enjoying the fate of one who is about to disappear soon.
賢明だな、マトシンジ。その判断は的確だ。君はある意味誰よりもマスターにふさわしい。
なんだ、あんた見どころあるじゃん。もったいない。それなら僕のところに来てれば契約してやったのに。
Stepping away from the knight in red, Shinji Mato claps his hands happily.
けど悪いね。もう他のサーバントなんていらないんだ。残念だけどさ、おとなしく消えちゃってよ、あんた。
言われるまでもない。それで結局どうするのだ。ここで私と戦うか。
ああ、待ってやるよ。エミヤを始末するまで遠坂は僕たちが守ってやろうじゃないか。けどそうだな。となるとあれはもう僕のだろう。なら何をしても構わないと思わない？
He looks at the knight in red and Rin Tosaka with snake-like eyes. Those words test the loyalty of the knight in red. To that,
傷をつけるなというのがエミやシロとの契約だが、それは夜明けとともに消える。刻限が来たのならあとは好きにするがいい。
the knight in red answers in an emotionless voice.
聞いたかよ遠坂。お前のサーバントマスターを売っ払うってさ。
Sneering laughter echoes through the dingy room. The red knight leaves the room as if he has no interest. He passes by Gilgamesh. He goes into the hallway, ignoring the red eyes that look at him, amused. At that moment,
フェイカ
the King of Heroes says, mocking him, Dawn approaches. Our conversation dies off as we head deeper into the woods, and the silence weighs heavily. Once I'm through the forest, I, Shiro Emiya, will settle the score with that man. I have no chance of victory. My defeat is certain. I'm well aware that I'll be slaughtered as soon as we cross swords. I don't feel fear, but not out of defiance or determination. I might die, but he's long dead. The moment I realized this, I knew that I was no different. There's no longer any point in feeling gloomy about my own death. I passed the castle gate. Saber's expression is dark. She knows what sort of fight awaits me. She's troubled by me, and by him. No matter who lives or falls, the same man will disappear. She's in anguish, unsure whether she should put a stop to this absurd duel. She glances skyward. Her eyes look severe, or perhaps angry that such a vain battle must be fought. We come to a great ruined hall. Morning mist shrouds the ground to be our mutual resting place.
来たか。随分と遅い到着だな、エミヤシロ。
His icy voice rings through the air. Its familiar baritone comes from the second story. The man stands there atop the crumbling stairs that culminate in a sunlit plateau. His crimson cloak seems distant and hazy. But I can see him. I can make out every exact detail of my enemy. We share the same eagle eyes, after all. He is the servant assigned to the role of archer. He's a bowman, yet not a bowman. A contradictory person who possesses a vast number of noble phantasms and hurls them out unsparingly. All of his noble phantasms are replicas, and his personal noble phantasm is the ability to create infinite swords. I was the only one who failed to realize his identity. Heroic spirits are summoned from all eras. If the past doesn't contain an appropriate hero, then one might be born in the future.
ようやく気づいた。あのペンダントが2つあるはずがない。あれはもともと。
そうだ。あれは命を救われたお前が生涯持ち続けたもの。この世に2つとない。遠坂凛の父の形見だ。
It's a paradox for two of them to exist. If Shiro Emiya held on to the pendant for the rest of his life, then...
英霊の召喚には必ず触媒が必要となる。
Yep, so the pendant became the catalyst.
お前がセイバーを召喚したように、召喚者と英霊にはつながりがなくてはならない。遠坂凛には英霊を呼び出すための触媒がなかった。故に彼女は呼び出したサーバントに何の縁もないと思い込んだ。だが偶然で呼び出される英霊などいない。召喚者と英霊には必ず物質的な縁が必要となる。
If that's true, then there's only one explanation. Tosaka didn't have anything to connect herself to Archer, but...
そう。召喚者ではなく、呼び出された英霊そのものが召喚者に縁のあるものを持っていた場合のみだ。
That tiny gem of which there is only one in the world. Someone saved my life, and I never found out who, but I kept the pendant with me, assuming it must have belonged to my savior. That's the answer. He has Tosaka's pendant, which makes him... the heroic spirit Emiya. My future self. The man standing before me perfected Shiro Emiya's incomplete abilities and achieved my ideals. The red-clad knight looks down at me from the top of the stairs. There's no sign of anyone else around. Only he and I stand here in this hall.
アーチャー、遠坂はどうした？
あの小娘なら城のどこかに置いてきたが、気に病むのなら急げ。お前が来るのが遅いのでな、先に来た的を信じにくれてやったところだ。
だと。
お前との約束は守っている。俺は手出しはせん。他の人間が彼女に何をしようが、俺には関わりのないことだ。まあ、結果は見えているがな。的真司は遠坂凛に情欲と敵がいを抱いている。あれに凛を預ければどうなるかは考えるまでもない。凛に挑発された小僧は我慢できずに唇を切り、今頃は妙なことになっているかもしれないぞ。
My blood boils. How can he just talk about her like that?
ああ、焦るな、坊主。 あのお嬢ちゃんなら俺に任せろ。何、すぐに助け出してやる。
ランサ
マスターからの命令だな。元から俺はあのお嬢ちゃんを死なせないために協力したわけだ。いや、これが思いのほか居心地よくてな。昨日のは悪くなかった。自分の仕事を気に入れるっていうのは俺にとっては珍しい。
Glad you're getting a good hand, Lancer. With that flippant remark, Lancer ignores Archer and heads for the western terrace.
ー、ランサー。
気にするな。これはあくまで俺の趣味だ。ま、今までいけすかねえ命令ばっかりだったからな。この命令は最後まで守り抜く。そっちはそっちで自分の面倒だけ見てやがれ。
ああ、遠坂を頼む。
Lancer departs with an eye. But then, he stops and turns as if remembering something.
おい、何してんだセイバー。お前も来るんだよ。
Saber looks pained.
いいえ、私はここに残ります、ランサー。
Her response isn't what you'd expect from a servant.
本気か？今のマスターはお嬢ちゃんだろ？サーバントが守るべきはマスターだけのはずだが。
分かっています。ですが、それでも私はここに残りたい。私はこの戦いを見守らなければ。
そうかよ。なら好きにしな。
Lancer disappears. The blue-clad spearman easily leaps up to the second-story terrace and disappears down the hallway without another glance. Archer doesn't make any move to stop him. Tosaka seems to have outlived her usefulness to him. I step forward through the rubble. I'm headed for the middle of the hall, at the bottom of the stairs. Saber stays where she is. She intends to watch us fight and keeps her emotions in check.
手出しはしないか。それはありがたい。ここまで来てセイバーに邪魔をされるようでは、リンと契約を切った意味がないからな。
I can hear her hesitate. She inhales slightly and answers the man standing at the top of the stairs.
ええ、私は手出しをしません。何があろうと、あなたとシロの戦いの邪魔はしない。
それは結構。ならば安心して小僧を始末できるというものだ。
はい。ですが、その代わりに一つだけ答えてほしい。アーチャー、なぜあなたはシロを殺そうというのです？
なぜも何もないだろう。そいつが俺を認められないように、俺もそいつを認められないだけだよ。
そんなはずはない。あなたはシロだ。エミやシロという人物の理想、英雄となった姿があなたではないのですか？ならどうしてこんな自分。
なぜそう思う？未熟だった頃のエミヤシロとエミヤと呼ばれる英雄となった俺は別の存在だ。そうでなければ同時に存在などできないが。
それはあなたがサーバントになったからでしょ。時間軸にとらわれない守護者になったのなら、自身が生きた時代に呼ばれることもあると聞きます。あなたはシローだ。シローがずっと思い描いて、その努力が叶った姿があなたのはずだ。なのに、どうして？
Why did you turn out so differently? I can hear her anguished question even if she doesn't say the words aloud. He starts down the stairs without answering. He can't answer. If he could, then we wouldn't be here trying to settle things by force.
アーチャー。
Saber challenges him without actually stepping forward.
いいんだ、セイバー。いいから下がっていてくれ。
With one hand, I gesture for her to move back to the entrance.
ですが、シロー。
気持ちは嬉しい。けど、話しても無駄だ。あいつは初めから俺を殺すことだけが目的だったんだから。
Saber bites her lip in distress. She looks at me and then at Archer as he descends the stairs to the hall.
なぜなのです、アーチャー。私にはわからない。守護者とは死後、英霊となって人間を守るものと聞いた。その英霊がなぜ自分自身を殺そうなどと考えるのか。
集合者だと。
Archer stops and looks down at Saber emotionlessly. The word seems to have struck a nerve with him.
違うよセイバー。守護者は人間を守るものではない。あれはただの掃除屋だ。俺が望んでいた英雄などでは断じてない。
His voice changes. Hatred and scorn tinge his dispassionate tone.
アーチャー。
俺は確かに英雄になった。エミヤシロという男が望んでいたように正義の味方になったんだ。
A hero of justice. Someone who always does the right thing and doesn't let anyone get hurt. The kind of person Shiro Emiya has always wanted to be, who doesn't retreat from any disaster and saves everyone equally. Is he saying that he achieved that ideal?
アーチャー。
ああ、確かにいくらかの人間を救ってきたさ。自分にできる範囲で多くの理想を叶えてきたし、世界の危機とやらを救ったこともあったよ。英雄と遠い昔から憧れていた地位にさえついにはたどり着いたこともある。
英雄にたどり着いた。ならシロは報われたのですね。
Nope.
少なくともここにいるあなたはエミやシロの理想を叶えられたのでしょう。ならあなたには悔いなどないはずだ。シロはちゃんとその理想を叶えたのだから。
Her verbal challenge doesn't have much force behind it. She already knows. She's aware that her words are merely wishful thinking.
理想を叶えたか。確かに俺は理想通りの正義の味方とやらになったさ。だがその果てに得たものは後悔だけだった。殺して殺し尽くした。己の理想を貫くために多く無関係な人間の命だぞ。どうでもよくなるくらい殺した人間の数千倍の人々を救ったよ。
Saber stares up at Archer in shock, almost as if she's looking into a mirror.
そう。そんなことを何度繰り返したかわからないんだ。セイバー。俺は求められれば何度でも戦ったし、争いがあるとしてば死をとして戦った。何度も何度も思い出せないほど何度もだ。だって仕方がないだろう。何を救おうと救われない人間というものが出てきてしまう。何度戦いを終わらせようと新しい戦いは生み出される。そんなものがある限り正義の味方っていうのはあり続けるしかないんだから。
I wonder who his lecture is directed at. The knight describes his past as he slowly descends the stairs.
だから殺したよ。一人を救うために何十という人間の願いを踏みにじってきた。踏みにじった相手を何十という人間の救いを殺して、目に見えるものだけの救いを生かして、より多くの願いを殺してきた。今度こそ終わりだと、今度こそ誰も悲しまないだろうと、つまらない意地を張り続けた。だが終わることなどなかった。生きている限り争いはどこに行っても目についた。キリがなかった。何も争いのない世界なんてものを夢見ていたわけじゃない。ただ俺はせめて自分が知り得る限りの世界では誰にも涙してほしくなかっただけなのにな。
Without a doubt. That was my very own dream.
一人を救えばそこから視野は広がってしまうんだ。一人の次は10人、10人の次は100人、100人の次はさて何人だった。そこでようやく悟ったよ。
それはなぜ？
分かりきったことを聞くなセイバー。君ならば 何度も経験したことだろう。全ての人間を救うことはできない。国を救うためにほんの少しの人間を見殺しにするなんていうのは日常茶飯事だっただろう。
The Red Knight's words stunned Saber into silence, sapping her of the will to disagree. They must reflect Saber's inner darkness too.
そう、正規は限られている。幸福という椅子は常に全体の数より少なめでしか用意されない。その場にいる全員を救うことなどできないから結局誰かが犠牲になる。それを被害を最小限に抑えるためにいずれこぼれる人間を速やかに1秒でも早くこの手で切り落とした。それが英雄とその男が理想と信じる正義の味方の取るべき行動だ。
A wish for no one to be sad. An ideal to save as many people as possible. If someone holds both of these ideas, then there's only one path to take once they contradict each other. A hero of justice can only save the people he's decided to save. If trying to save everyone means saving nobody, then saving as many people as you can with the minimum sacrifices is the right choice.
多くの人間を救うというのが正義の味方だろ。だから殺した。誰も死なさないようにと願ったまま大勢のために一人には死んでもらった。誰も悲しまないようにと口にしてその陰で何人かの人間には絶望を抱かせた。そのうちそれにも慣れてきてね。理想を守るために理想に反し続けた。自分が助けようとした人間しか救わず敵対した者は速やかに皆殺しにした。犠牲になる誰かを容認することでかつての理想を守り続けた。それがこの俺、英雄エミヤの正体だ。そら、そんな男は今のうちに死んだ方が世のためと思わないか？
He's right. A superhero can only save the people he's decided to save. However, who ended up betraying those words in the end?
それは嘘です。たとえそうなったとしても、あなたならばその誰かを自分にして理想を追い続けたのではないですか？
Archer stops again. For just an instant, a pained frown clouds his face.
あなたは理想に反したのではない。守ったはずの理想に裏切られ、道を見失っただけではないのですか？そうでなければ、こんな自分を殺すことで罪を償おうなどとは思わない。
His sardonic grin disappears. Archer fixes Saber with a cold glare and... breaks into uproarious laughter, as if she's just said something hilarious.
いや、これは傑作だ。俺が自分の罪を償う。バカなことを言うなよ、セイバー。償うべき罪などないし、他の誰にもそんな無責任なものを押し付けた覚えはない。
The Red Knight remains deadly calm. Only his low chuckle reverberates through the hall.
ああ、そうだったよ、セイバー。確かに俺は何度も裏切られ、欺かれた。救ったはずの男に罪をかぶせられたこともある。死ぬ思いで争いを収めてみれば、争いの張本人だと押し付けられて、最後には公主罪だ。そうだ、俺に罪があるというのなら、その時点で償っているだろう。
嘘だ、アーチャー。あなたの最後は。
まあそういうことだ。だがそんなことはどうでもよかった。初めから干渉してほしかったわけじゃない。 英雄などともてはやされる気もなかった。俺はだがそれが叶えられたことはない。生前もその死後。
His laughter is gone. Now his words are tinged only with hatred.
守護者とは霊長の存命のみを優先する無色の力だ。力は高きところにありて、人の世が滅亡する可能性が生じれば世に下る。それがただの奴隷であることは知っていた。死後己が存在を守護者に預けた者は輪廻の枠から外れ無と同意になるのだと。それでも誰かを救えるのならそれでいい。かつてのエミやシロはその誓いを守れなかった。なら守護者となって人間の滅亡とやらを食い止める一端になるのならそれでいいと思ったんだ。だが実際は違う。守護者は人など救わない。守護者がすることはただの掃除だ。すでに起きてしまったこと、作られてしまった人間の業を、それは人を救うのではなく世界に害を与えるであろう人々を善悪の区別なくなくすだけ。絶望に嘆く人々を救うのではなく絶望と無関係に生を謳歌する部外者を救うために絶望する人々を排除するだけの殺戮者。馬鹿げた話だ。それが今までの俺と何が違う。
It's not different at all. In fact, it only created more despair. He couldn't make his dream come true on his own, so he devoted himself to a greater power. And he still ended up in the same place. He thought that a higher power might be able to grant his wish, but it was just a larger version of what he'd already been doing.
アーチャー、あなたはずっとそんなことを。
それも慣れたよ。人間は繰り返す。どんな時代でも強者が弱者を奪い尽くすのだ。そしてそれが最も効率のいい繁栄だと思い知らされた。ああ、何度も見てきた。意味のない殺戮も意味のない平等も意味のない幸福も俺自身が拒んでも見せられた。守護者となった俺にはもはや自分の意志などない。ただ人間の意志によって呼び出され人間が作ってしまった罪の後始末をさせられるだけだったからな。
That's the conclusion he arrived at. An existence that erases the despair other humans make. Guardians don't save anyone. They just erase the existence of people who aren't saved. Over and over. Whenever they see humans do something that causes their own destruction, they show up and burn it all. The man became a hero, thinking he could save as many people as possible. But in the end, that wish never came true.
そうだ。それは違う。俺が望んだものはそんなことではなかった。俺はそんなもののために守護者になどなったのではない。
The rage in his voice is probably directed at himself. The man that stands before us is a worn-down wreck. The hero Emiya was perpetually shown the ugliness of the people he wanted to save. In the end, he felt hatred. Hatred at his past self for valuing the humans who just kept taking from each other.
俺は人間の後始末などまっぴらだ。だが守護者となった以上この輪から抜け出す術はない。そう、ただ一つの例外を除いて。
His cold eyes gleam with unshakable bloodlust. They aren't looking at Saber. Archer's sole objective is to erase himself. However, ever since he died, he can't erase the original Emiya that exists in the place outside of the time axis. It's impossible to erase someone who's become a guardian. Guardians are of the void, There's no point in killing someone who doesn't exist on this world's axis. However, if it were possible, there would be only one way. If he were to kill himself before he became a hero, then that hero would never be born. Therefore,
シロをここで殺すというのですか。他でもない。あなた自身の手によって。
そうだ、その機会だけを待ち続けた。果てしなくゼロに近い確率だ。だがそれにかけた。そう思わなければ自身を許容できなかった。ただその時だけを希望にして俺は守護者などというものを続けてきた。
それは無駄です、アーチャー。あなたはすでに守護者として存在しているのでしょう。ならもう遅い。今になって英雄となる前のエミやシロを消滅させたところで、あなた自身は消えはしない。
そうかもしれん。だが可能性のない話ではあるまい。過去の改ざんだけでは通じないだろうが、それが自身の手によるものならば矛盾は大きくなる。歪みが大きければ、あるいはここでエミヤという英雄は消滅する。それにな、セイバー、俺はこの時だけを待って守護者を続けてきたのだ。今さら結果など求めていない。これはただの八つ当たりだ。くだらぬ理想の果てに道化となり果てるエミヤシロという小僧へのな。
and then the Red Knight steps into the same hall that I'm in. Only he and I stand amid the rubble. No obstacles separate us. Our reasons for being here are simple. He wants to kill me and I can't stand him, so I'm going to kick his ass. I step into the center of the hall. A few more steps and there will be no going back. Before that,
アーチャー、お前後悔してるのか。
there's one question I need to ask him.
無論だ。俺、いや、お前は正義の味方になどなるべきではなかった。
He spits the words out like venom. That's the last push I need.
そうか。それじゃあやっぱり俺たちは別人だ。
何？
俺は後悔なんてしないぞ。どんなことになったって後悔だけはしない。だから絶対にお前のことも認めない。お前が俺の理想だって言うんなら、そんな間違った理想は俺自身の手で叩き出す。
That's how I've lived. I've come this far believing that it was right. It probably is mostly pride, like he said. I've lost more than I've gained. But still, Shiro Emiya won't back down, not even for what he's lost. I advance. A circuit in the back of my mind has already begun to sketch a blueprint.
その考えがそもそもの元凶なのだ。お前もいずれ俺に追いつく時が来る。
来ない。そんなもん。
はあ、それはつまりその前にここで俺に殺されるということか。
I step towards my enemy. We're close enough to cross swords now. Neither of us are armed. We're going to go at it barehanded. Shiro Emiya isn't a swordsman. We make swords. So.
分かっているようだな。俺と戦うということは権勢を競い合うということだと。
His hands grip a pair of swords. That night, that simple pair of blades that took my breath away at Ryudo Temple. They were rare masterworks forged by a famous smith at the cost of his wife's life.
トレース。
I initiate the prepared blueprint and replicate the swords just by visualizing them. They're so flawed. My swords, which I thought were perfect, are terribly vague compared to his. My inferior imagination has produced a degraded delusion. Most likely, they'll shatter against his swords. I I take another step forward. A deliberate, firm step. Rubble crumbles beneath my feet. The sound seems to declare a start to the duel.
俺の牽制についてこれるか。わずかでも精度を落とせば、それがお前の死に際になろう。
Our swords confront each other. An identical pair of weapons, 4 blades, overlap as if attracted by magnetic force, and clash. Yeah, I had a feeling that's where they're going to slip an interlude in. That felt right. So I'm guessing this is going to be Lancer. He easily tracks his target down. Lancer may seem as if he specializes in combat, but he's actually quite skilled at magecraft. He learned to master more than just Gay Bolg in that arcane fortress called the Land of Shadows. He is a hero because he learned the 18 primordial runes. Of course, he rarely flaunts his magical skills because he prefers to fight with a spear rather than magecraft. Today is one of those rare occasions.
Yosh, atarika.
He dropped something which had been running on the ground. A rock inscribed with the Berkano rune returns to being a mundane pebble, its task complete.
誰だお前。
A boy he hasn't seen before stands up in a panic. The shrill voice sounds familiar. Lancer retracts that thought and realizes who this is.
ライダーのマスターじゃねえか。なんだ、とっくの昔にくたばったもんと。
He breaks off. Rin Tosaka is behind the boy. She's tied to a chair. That's fine. She's being held captive, so that makes sense. But several details stand out. First, her chair is tipped over. Since Rin Tosaka is tied to the chair, she's on the ground too. There's sand in her long black hair and something red around her mouth. She probably cut her lip. It's slight, but one can make out bruising around her lips.
お前ランサーか。なんだよ。誰に断ってここに来たんだ。話が違うぞ。お前は。
A casual fist plants itself in Shinji Mato's cheek. Lancer's trivial backhand sends the boy crashing into a wall.
おお、ああ悪いなガキ。口より先に手が出ちまった。
He looks unconscious, but he's not dead. Granted, if Rin Tosaka's face had been a little paler and her clothes more disheveled, he wouldn't have ended it with just a knockout. He would have paid a heavy price. To be clear, Lancer doesn't care about the treatment of prisoners. But he doesn't like it when someone else steals his prey. Of course, enemies he kills and women he's fond of both count as his prey.
ランサー
Rin Tosaka wonders aloud from her bound position. Her voice sounds sleepy, as if she was unconscious.
いや、朝だぜ。起きろぐうたら。
Lancer approaches her with an out-of-place greeting.
なんでここアインツベルンの城よ。
承知している。ああ、いいから動くな。今その手枷を切ってやる。その後は好きにしろ。広間に行ってバカどもの喧嘩を止めるなり、裏口から帰るのも自由だ。
His crimson spear materializes in a whirl of air.
それは助かるけど。ランサー、後ろ。
Rin's warning makes him turn.
な、に。
Someone even he didn't expect stands there. In the corner of the room. With firm footsteps, a man walks past where Shinji Mato pancaked into the wall. Oh boy.
そこまでだランサー。協力しろとは言ったが、深入りしろとは言わなかったぞ。
Kirei Kotomine, who they thought Castor killed.
キレ
Rin yelps in surprise. Lancer glares suspiciously at the priest.
おい、いつから終始買いしやがったんだお前。俺のマスターは表には出てこないのが心情だったんじゃなかったか。
変えるような終始などない。そういうお前こそ命令違反だぞランサー。アーチャーの始末を命じたはずだが、仕損じたか。
あれは放っといても自滅する。その前にやり残した仕事を片付けに来たんだが、お前がここにいるということは、そこのガキはお前の差し金か。
Yeah, that makes sense.
人聞きが悪いな。彼とは協力関係だ。聖杯を手に入れるため、共に認め合った仲だ。
Shinji Mato groans underneath the rubble. The priest doesn't even spare him a glance.
そう。 あんたがそう簡単にくたばるわけないと思ったけど、しぶとく生きてるばかりか。裏でこそこそ手を回してたのね。悪趣味ここに極まるっていうか、人畜無害な神事を懐柔してどうしようっていうのよ、キレ。
なるほど。あれを人畜無害と取るか。この状況においてもお前は遠坂凛らしい。もう少し出来の悪い弟子ならば惜しむこともないのだが。
The priest chuckles. His expression is that of a priest blessing someone on their deathbed. A chill runs down Rin's back. She realizes what her fate is. The priest looks down at his apprentice of 10 years with a saintly smile.
待てよ琴峰、その女をどうするつもりだ。教え子を助けたいと言ったお前の言葉は嘘だったのか。
Lancer stands between his master and the girl, glaring.
嘘なものか。彼女はここまで育てた大切な駒だ。10年にわたり欺き続けたのだから、そう簡単にリタイアされてはつまらん。故にお前に彼女の警護を任せたのだ。わずか2日ばかりの延命だったが、親心としては十分すぎるのではないかな。
The priest walks past Lancer to look at the girl sprawled on the floor. Rin glares up at her former mentor.
SS 神父、あんたならやりかねないと思ったけど、本当にマスターだったなんてね。監督役のくせにゲームに参加するなんて反則もいいところじゃない。
その割には落ち着いているな、リン。やはり気づいてはいたのか。
当然でしょ。自分のサーバントを見せなかったのもあんたを疑ってたからだもの。けどね、まさか初めっから騙されてるとは思わなかったわ。
初めから。
The priest frowns. It seems that he wasn't expecting her to say that.
何よ、文句あるっていうのキレ。
いや、初めからというが、それはどのあたりを指しているのかと思ってな。
His lips twist into a sneer. The priest gazes down with a look of true elation.
もっとキレ、あんた。
それは今回の聖杯戦争が始まってからか。それともお前が言う初めからとは。
Then everything falls into place. Rin's face goes pale and she stares up at the man who mentored her for 10 years with an incredulous look.
そう、殺したのはあんただったんだ。
当然だろう。恩師であったからな。騙し討ちはたやすかった。
There's a grinding noise. The girl is staring at the ground, gritting her teeth in anguish.
行き場に迷えクソ神父。断言してやるけど、あんたに居場所なんてないんだからね。地獄だってあんたみたいなのは願い下げで、煉獄だって他の連中がずぶとくなるってんでたらい回しよ。あんたみたいな生き損ないはね、性に合わない天国あたりで針のむしろにくるまってろっての。
In a rage, she hurls abuse after abuse at him. Of course, the priest is unbothered by such trifles. Someone else is taken aback by the girl's sudden fit, however. Shinji has never imagined that Rin could bear such emotion, even in his dreams.
琴峰、遠坂は僕がもらったんだって知ってるだろ。あいつに用があるのは僕だけだ。あんたはただ教会でこっちの守備を待ってればいいんだよ。
いや、用ならばある。彼女にはここで聖杯になってもらわねばならない。
Right, since Ilya was killed. Shinji doesn't understand what the priest is saying. Only the priest and the girl he intends to sacrifice do.
アーチャーとセーバーが消えればいい加減頃合いだ。いらぬ抵抗され、鮮度を落とされても困る。ことは迅速に済ませてしまおう。
The priest steps away from the girl. Only Lancer is in front of Rin now, armed with a spear.
琴峰、貴様。
そのゴミを始末しろ、ランサー。器に心臓はいらん。
Only Shinji reacts to those words. Rin just glares at the priest, gnashing her teeth. The priest's smile already told her that she is going to die here. She knows that no help is coming, that no one would hear her even if she begged for help. So she absolutely refuses to snivel. It's the only form of resistance she can offer, and it represents her defiance. She won't give up until the very end. Help might still come at the last possible second, or a miracle might even occur, like something that destroys the entire room, leaving only her intact.
ありえない話だけど。
She won't give up, but she knows what is and isn't possible. That's why she isn't very scared. There's just one thing she's worried about. It's awkward to imagine what face he'll make when he comes to save her after she's dead. She doesn't want to make him cry. It pisses her off thinking that she'll make him cry, and she doesn't know how to apologize for it. Of course, she can't apologize if she's dead, but she still doesn't want him to cry.
ごめん、エミヤ君。私、先にリタイアする。
So she apologizes now while she still can. It doesn't matter, but at least it makes her feel more at ease.
どうしたランサー。相手は少女。貫くのはたやすかろう。
The priest has no mercy. However,
お断りだ。今回のは従えねえ。俺にやらせたかったらその霊樹でも使うんだな。
Lancer answers Rin's enemy with defiance.
何？
The priest narrows his eyes. Master and servant glare daggers at each other, and the temperature in the room seems to drop.
そうか。仕方あるまい。自分でできることに霊樹を消費するわけにはいかんのだな。
The priest lifts his left arm. He activates the command spells inscribed on it.
では命じよう。自害しろランサー。
Lancer coughs blood, but the red droplets that dribble from his mouth pale in comparison to the torrent of blood gushing from his chest.
ことみね。貴様。
His murmur can't even be heard. Lancer has stabbed himself through the chest with his own spear, completely destroying his heart.
さらばだ。お前の役目はとうに終わっている。
The azure-armored spearman collapses to the floor. Pooling scarlet seeps into the floor. Lancer shows no sign of getting up. He has fallen by his own spear on his master's orders. The priest moves. He approaches Rin with easygoing steps and takes a knee next to her. He reaches out with a hand to the bound girl's chest as if to pluck her heart out.
ことみね。約束が違うじゃないか。遠坂は僕にくれるって言っただろう。
The priest glances at Shinji without answering.
ダメだ。遠坂はダメだ。そいつには借りがいっぱいあるんだから。生きていてくれなくちゃ困る。
Shinji winds his back to Lancer's corpse. But his protests die off. The boy cowers away from the priest's severe gaze. The priest looks back down at the girl.
最後に何か言い残すことはあるか。遺言ぐらいは聞こう。
A simple concession.
こういう時の私が何を考えているか、あんたなら知ってるはずでしょ。
Rin answers him in her usual tone.
そうだ。最後まで諦めないのがお前だ、リン。同時に覆らない現実を瞬時に認めるのもお前の素晴らしさだ。いいぞ。その矛盾はなかなかに芳醇だ。
He doesn't hesitate. The priest roughly shoves his hand into the girl's chest over where her heart would be. She closes her eyes. There's a stabbing sound. A heart is pierced and blood spills out. The stone room becomes a tomb for yet another dead body. Rin is the one who gasps. The floor is drenched in blood. The dripping comes from somewhere high up. From the floor, Rin looks up to see that it's coming from the priest's chest. Fuck you, Kotomine. Blood rises from his esophagus. The hole in his chest is obviously a fatal wound, and so the thing that stabbed him from behind is none other than a cursed spear known especially for piercing. The priest feels no emotion. He simply looks at Lancer behind him, blood running from his mouth.
ラン様貴様あいにくだったなことみねこの程度でくたばれるならよ俺は英雄になんぞなってね
Let's go, battle continuation! Lancer's sardonic tone clearly sounds like a bluff. There isn't a hint of vitality in it. Without a heart, his body is already starting to fade. He pulls his spear out of Kotomine, who collapses lifelessly to the ground. Trained in the arcane and blessed by the divine, he might have been, but he was still only human. There was no surviving a thrust to the heart from Lancer's cursed spear.
たく結局こうなったかたけ
Lancer leans his crumbling body against a wall, but it buys him little time. After collapsing once, he's bound to disappear for good. He's lost his heart and his master. The only reason his body is somehow still holding together is because of his legendary tenacity.
いいじゃんいいじゃんバカどもは勝手に殺し合ってたよ
シンジ
Shinji's cackling brings Rin back to her senses after watching the priest die.
何が聖杯は君のものだだよ役立たずは最後まで役立たずだったな神父さん
Shinji kicks the priest's body. It doesn't move at all. Pleased with himself, the boy kicks the priest's face as hard as he can, making a dry crunching noise. The sound and sensation delight Shinji more than he expected.
けど文句は言わないでおくよさっきのことは根に持ってないし死んじゃったやつにあれこれ言うのはみっともないしさ
Shinji snickers. Having lost all reservations, he closes in on Rin eagerly.
待たせたね遠坂いろいろ邪魔が入ったけどこれでようやく二人きりだ残るサーバントはあと3人ここで君が泣き疲れた頃には全部型がついてるさ
Shinji scrambles forward on all fours like a lizard, looming over Rin.
けどよかったお前にはいろいろ用があったんだほんと困るよ遠坂簡単に死なれちゃあさここまで我慢してきた僕に申し訳がないってもんだろ
He's so fucking gross.
さあこびてみろよ遠坂お前の態度次第で助けてやらないこともないぜそれに聖杯はもう僕のものだここで僕のものになるって言うならお前にだって分けてやっても
呆れた本当にバカじゃないのあんた
Tied up and on the ground, Rin scoffs like she's talking to a child.
なんだって
まだ懲りないのかって言ってるのよシンジあんたは綺麗にいいように使われてただけでしょいいあのサーバントは扱いきれるものじゃないそんなこと近くにいるんだからあんただって分かってるでしょならいい加減目を覚ましてこんな殺し合いから手を引けっていうの今ならまだ間に合うのはそっちの方よ死にたくなかったら1秒でも早くここから逃げ出しなさい
何を言い出すかと思えば結局は命乞いじゃんかバカはお前だよ遠坂目障りな琴峰は死んだんだぜ今さら何が僕の邪魔をするって言うんだ
Shinji reaches for Rin's body, but the second he does,
おい
he goes flying for a second time. Shinji slams into the wall again.
ガキがそいつはてめえなんかが触れていい女じゃね
Lancer glances at Shinji and lazily walks over to Rin.
何、死に損ないの分際で僕に意見しようっていうの？
The spearman stops. He turns and faces Shinji. Fucking bitch.
おとなしく寝ていれば苦しまずに死ねたってのにな。さっきといい今度といい、お前楽には殺さないからな。
He might be dying, but he just knocked your dumb bitch ass halfway across the fucking room a second time. Why are you so fucking stupid?
ほら出番だぜギルガメッシュ。こいつカッコつけて死にたいんだってさ。
Shinji raises his voice. He calls for his servant, the mightiest slayer of heroes.
おい、なんだよ。何やってんだよあいつ。聞こえないのか。早く来いって言ってるだろ。
His voice rings out. The golden servant does not appear. The bloody blue spearman takes a step towards Shinji.
くそくそくそくそくそ。なんだよお前。死に損ないのくせに何かっこつけてんだよ。消えろよ。目障りだってわかんないのかよこの化け物。
A strike whips out. A single precise strike like a flash of light stabs Shinji in the right shoulder. His scream fills the room. Lancer withdraws his spear, looking bored. He puts his face in front of Shinji's.
うせろ。死に損ないでもな。お前程度なら1000人殺したところで支障はない。
Hugging the wall and cowering away from the spear pointed at him, Shinji leaves the room in a mad scramble. Shinji Mato. Fucking worthless bitch until the end. Fuck you.
たく、無駄な体力使わせやがって。
With a heavy sigh, Lancer walks back over to Rin. The wind-cutting spear severs her bindings like tissue paper.
ありがとう。助かったわ、ランサー。
Rin thanks him for her freedom. She bows to Lancer, ignoring the filth around them.
ま、成り行きだからな。礼を言われる筋じゃねえ。
Suddenly, he collapses limply.
ランサー。
Rin can't catch him in time. Lancer's too weak to even lean against the wall now, and he slumps to the ground. His legs won't move. His limbs were already long dead. It seems nonsensical that he managed to stand up, kill his master, and set Rin free. A sudden cough of blood stains his blue armor further.
待ってて、すぐに傷を塞ぐから。
Rin rushes over to the bloody spearman, but he stops her with a hand.
無駄だ。俺のゲイボルクで破壊された心臓は簡単には治らん。大体な、そんな余分なマルカ残ってねえだろお前。
けどそれじゃ。
まあ気にするな。こういうのには慣れてる。英雄ってのはな、いつだって理不尽な命令で死ぬものなんだからよ。
His easygoing tone is the same as it always is. Even seconds away from death, the spearman doesn't change the way he acts. Rin stands up wordlessly. Seeing that, Lancer breathes a sigh of relief, as if a weight was lifted from his shoulders.
いや、お互いつまんねえ相棒を引いちまったな。
そうね。けど、私のはつまんないっていうより、扱いづらいだけだったかな。
違いない。お前のような女が相棒だったら言うことはなかったんだが、あいにく昔からいい女とは縁がなくてな。まったくこればっかりは何度繰り返しても治らねえみてえだ。
He chuckles dryly, and then
さあ早く行け。こいつは俺が連れて行く。お前は お前の相棒のところに戻らないと。
The spearman urges the girl to leave. He prepares Ansus, the fire rune, in his hand. Soon as he inscribes it on the ground and charges it with all of his remaining magical energy, it'll burn the entire rune to cinders. Rin understands his determination and turns to leave.
さよならランサー。短い間だったけど、私もあなたみたいな人は好きよ。
She runs off to the Great Hall.
小娘がもうちょっと年取って出直してこい。
A hearty guffaw escapes his lips. Flames engulf him. The blaze consumes Lancer and his master's body. Not a trace is left behind. Like a mirage, the crimson spear and azure armor disappear into the flames. Oh. Man, Lancer's so fucking cool, dude. Identical swords clash. Shiro, Emiya, and the man's attacks are completely equal. Yet each time they clash, my blades break and I'm wounded badly. I'm cut deeply by attacks I should have intercepted. His concho shatters my concho and cuts me open in a sidelong slash. I desperately try to avoid the strike, but I can't. The wound isn't fatal, but it lacerates my muscles and will probably become a critical injury. I bite back the pain and try to knock the enemy's Bakuya out of his right hand. He shatters my weapon and blocks me there too. Our swords and skills should be the same, but I'm facing an insurmountable wall.
お前の感想と俺の感想が同等とでも思ったか。お前はまだまだ基本コスの想定が甘い。いかにイメージ通りの外見材質を保とうが、構造に利がなければ崩れるのは当然だ。イメージといえど筋が通ってなければ瓦解する。
Simultaneously, he unleashes attacks to cut open my flank and my forehead. I immediately project a pair of swords to parry with. I have a headache so bad it nearly blinds me. It isn't from the burden of projection. It's that headache from before. The hunch I had when I was looking for Tosaka. The fever I get every time I face him. This time is the greatest burden yet, and it's driving my body crazy. I fend off slash after slash. I attempt to cut him down in return. And each time the red headache burns my eyes. Is it the contradiction of Shiro Emiya and heroic spirit Emiya existing at the same time? Since the moment we recognized each other, my body has felt off every time we made contact. I traced his swordsmanship and even acquired his replication skills. It makes sense that I picked it up quickly. After all, his skills are the most optimal combat techniques for Shiro Emiya, honed over years of experience. How could I not take to them quickly? In trying to catch up to him, I've learned things about my future self that I shouldn't have. My eyes go numb. Each swing of a sword, each shower of sparks creates a flash of light, robbing me of my vision. My skills can't keep up, and each attack dyes my vision red. I wouldn't mind if that's all this was. My body is already torn to shreds. A headache is nothing compared to the feeling of having my stomach torn open with a branding iron. The problem is, the headache won't stop as long as there's something else to draw out from him.
都合5本目だな。投影による複製ではそろそろ限界か。お前の魔力量はよくわかっている。そのざまでは残り3本。わざわざあれを見せてやったというのに、未だそんな勘違いをしているとはな。
I hear a hint of disappointment in his taunts. The wrong idea. As if that matters right now. More importantly, I need to do something about this headache. It's coming from you.
ともあれ、至ったところで不可能ではあるか。今のエミやシローが生成できる魔力では足りない。そう。どちらにせよ。
My headache worsens. He brandishes his swords as if to settle this once and for all.
貴様に賞賛など一部たりともなかったということだ。
And brings his swords down on my head in a crisscrossed slash. I raise my swords to defend and they shatter. My body goes numb like it's been pounded with a sledgehammer, and the headache burns not just my eyeballs but my brain. It's flowing in. So, this, right now, is even scarier than the pain. They're his memories. The reason he's changed so much. I'm seeing fragments of the events that Shiro Emiya will experience in the future. I don't know if they're right or wrong. I'm sure nobody can be the judge of that. Beautiful things were ugly, and ugly things were beautiful. Objectively, there was nothing repulsive about them. So what made him go astray? Sophistry, misrepresentation, treachery, narcissism. Those make up most of what I saw. I am the bone of my sword. And yet he didn't seem to mind. He swore oaths and had ideals to uphold. He didn't care what he lost. Even if others betrayed him, he believed that there would be a future as long as he didn't betray himself. If he never complained or even showed himself getting hurt. Steel is my body, and fire is my blood. Then to the people around him, he was no different from a machine. He was useful to have around, so they used him. They only saw him as a tool. But even a machine can have ideals to uphold, so he accepted being treated as a convenient tool. I have created over 1,000 blades. Unknown to death, nor known to life. It wasn't something he could tell anyone else. The more he failed to save people and the more people he killed, the less he could profess his ideals. Eventually, his only option was to stick to them as resolutely as he could. The result? Shiro Emiya failed to uphold the ideals he dreamed of even once, and learned that he was a nuisance spouting foolish drivel. Have withstood pain to create weapons. Look, this was his fate. Look, this is where you'll end up. My heart breaks. Don't feel sorry for him. 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 But my heart feels like it's going to break when I know that this is the path that awaits me. Yet those hands will never hold anything. Everything you believed in. Everything you believe in. After you were shown that it was all a lie and fanciful dream, you still... We clash again. This time he comes straight for my heart, not with the dual swords, but some spiral-like sword. I retreat to gain some distance. I'm holding a sword I replicated in the spur of the moment. I fight against the nausea. What did I just say? Forget it. Forget you saw anything. I just need to defeat him now. I can't afford to dwell on anything else.
計算知能。前世の自分を高齢、憑依させることで、かつての技術を習得する魔術があると聞くが、俺と打ち合うたびに、お前の技術は鍛えられていくようだな。
Panting, I ready myself for his next strike.
となると、引き出したものは投影技術だけではあるまい。その顔、今にも吐きそうな最低の面構えからすると、お前も見たな。
He holds his breath. Don't make me say it. Don't make me remember. If you tell me what I just saw, I...
ならば話は早い。それは全て事実だ。エミヤしろ!
The red cloak flutters. In an instant, he closes the gap and thrusts the spike at me. My weapon is destroyed in one blow. A sword I hastily projected for the first time can't hold up against his weapons. And yet, he throws aside his weapon while I'm unarmed. The next projection is Durandal, said to be a sword of conquerors. I skip 4 counts and instantly project a replica of his weapon. Of course, my imitation is broken with one attack. I've fallen. I was pushed back and fell backward onto the rubble. And then I'm surprised. Just that fall was enough to stain the rubble red. Huh. I just never noticed that my body is dead, both inside and outside.
そこまでだ。叶わないと知ってなおここに現れる愚かさ。生涯くだらぬ理想にとらわれ、自らの意志を持たなかったまがいもの。それが自身の正体だと理解した。
His voice resounds. I'm covered in wounds. Each of them is deep enough to sink a finger into. I'm seriously screwed.
そんなものに生きている価値はない。何よりこの俺が確信しているのだ。エミやシロという男の人生に価値などない。ただ救いたいから救うなど、そもそも感情として間違えている。人間として故障したお前は、初めからあってはならない偽物だった。
I have almost no magical energy left. To make matters worse, my magic circuits are burning. They've been burning since yesterday's projection, actually. Something that was about to break is now completely broken. That's all. But my body protests that it can still fight. I've just been playing tough, pretending that my broken heart is whole. So, I need to stand up and beat him.
無駄なこと。俺はお前の理想だ。叶うはずなどないと、今ので理解できたはずだが。
I invest what remains of my consciousness into all my circuits. My nerves splinter and scream. Within myself, I weave together 8 counts without skipping a beat. I acquire his dual swords. Kansho and Bakuya, a pair of masterworks forged by an ancient smith. I swing. I'll keep attacking over and over with all my remaining strength until I burn out. Dual swords need dual swords to intercept them. Archer switches weapons to Kansho and Bakuya, then defends against my combo without taking a single step back.
そうか。認めるわけにはいかないのは道理だな。俺がお前の理想である限り、エミやシロは誰よりも俺を否定しなければならない。
His calm words piss me off. He just keeps quipping at me while I can hardly even breathe. I attack desperately. He locks our swords together without parrying me. I'm being pushed back, weapons and all. There's a vast gap in our physical strength. I don't have a chance of winning a pushing match.
では聞くがな、シロ。お前は本当に正義の味方になりたいと思っているのか？
For an instant, the sudden question makes my mind go blank.
何を今さら俺はなりたいんじゃなくて絶対になるんだよ
I put my muscle into it and glare right back at him. And he answers.
そう。絶対にならなければならない。なぜならそれは、エミやシローにとってただ一つの感情だからだ。逆らうことも否定することもできない感情。たとえそれが 自身の内から現れたものでないとしても。
His heart-wrenching words stopped me in my tracks. It's a desire that didn't come from within me. I deny it before I even consider what that means. I can't let him make me say it. I can't realize what he means. Deep down, I know that if I comprehend what he means, then Shiro Emiya's very foundation will crumble away.
ほう。その様子では、うすうす感づいてはいたようだな。いや、初めから気づいていて、それを必死に遠ざけていただけだったのか。今の俺では、思い出すことさえできないが。
I clamp my lips shut. I don't want to know. I know that I shouldn't know. Still, I finally realized that I have to know it. Shiro Emiya's paradox. The answer to what my mistake was and what's wrong with me.
俺には、もはやお前の記憶などない。だが、それでもあの光景だけは覚えている。一面の炎と充満した死の匂い。絶望の中で助けを乞い、叶えられた時の感情。エミヤ切り継ぐという男の俺を助け出した時に見せた安堵の顔を。
I'd accepted my death and my heart was empty. Then someone saved me. My rescuer smiled at me with tears in his eyes. When I saw that, I thought that he looked so happy.
そうだ。お前はただ一人助けられたことで、助けられなかった人々に後ろめたさを感じていたわけじゃない。ただ、エミヤ切り継ぐに憧れただけだ。あの男のお前を助けた顔があまりにも幸せそうだったから、自分もそうなりたいと思っただけ。
Right. Back then, I wasn't the one who was saved. I consider a thought that I've been avoiding. If Kiritsugu caused that fire, then the guilt would have been unbearable. It was a tragedy without a single survivor. Kiritsugu must have searched for survivors like a man possessed. And then he found one, when none were expected. He found a child that should have been beyond helping, who shouldn't even have been alive. What a miracle that must have felt like. But I understood that he saved me. I didn't know his circumstances. It was good enough for me that someone rescued me from that hell. Even if the emotion was directed at himself, his will to save me and the earnestness of wishing for someone to be saved were all genuine. And that was enough. It was enough for me that Kiritsugu Emiya saved me after I had become nothing. That's why.
そう。子が親に憧れるのは当然だ。だが、お前はそれが行き過ぎた。エミヤ切り継ぐに、エミヤ切り継ぐがなりたかったものに憧れるだけならよかった。だが、最後に奴はお前に呪いを残した。言うまでもないだろう。それがお前の全てだと言ってもいい。
じいさんの夢は俺だ。
That was the answer. A man even emptier than me heard my innocent words, entrusted his wish to me in relief, and passed away. From that moment on, Shiro Emiya had no choice but to become a hero of justice. My own feelings didn't matter. All I needed to do was become the person I looked up to, for the sake of someone I looked up to when I was young. The wish for everyone to be happy was an impossible one, which came from Kiritsugu, not me.
気づいているのだろう、シロ。お前の理想はただの借り物だ。エミヤ切り継ぐという男がなりたかったもの、エミヤ切り継ぐが正しいと信じたものを真似ているだけに過ぎない。
それは。
I grit my teeth and desperately try to bolster my breaking heart. And yet...
正義の味方だと笑わせるな。誰かのためになるとそう繰り返し続けたお前の思いは決して自ら生み出されたものではない。そんな男が他人の助けになるなどと思い上がりも甚だしい。
His blades cut through the air. His swings, filled with reproach, rained down on me with unprecedented aggression. As I watch the raging flurry of blows, I accept that I'm going to die here, just like I did 10 years ago. Impact after impact pounds me down. Once beautiful swordsmanship has deteriorated into brute force. My left arm trembles after blocking the strikes. The shock of it has broken my fingers holding the sword. I scrounge up every bit of mental focus I have left to create a Concho, and just barely deflect another slash. He's got me. His first assault already pushed me into near death. I won't survive this next barrage of blows. Yet somehow, my heart is broken, but my body denies him with all its might. It screams that he's wrong. Like a part of me earnestly feels that it's wrong to admit he's right and let myself die here. I look up. My eyes aren't working. They don't see my enemy. They only replay his memories. Within them, there's an image of me huddled up like a turtle in its shell, trying desperately to survive. I hear more than the sounds of blades clashing. It's him. With each attack, he berates himself.
そうだ。誰かを助けたいという願いが綺麗だったから憧れた。
I take his sword strikes again and again. Bakuya is broken. Kansho is my last lifeline.
故に自身からこぼれ落ちた気持ちなどない。これを偽善と言わず何という。
Kansho breaks and my life begins to peter out. My chest hurts. Shiro Emiya's heart is torn apart not by the waterfall of sword strikes, but by Archer's words.
この身は誰かのためにならなければならないと脅迫観念に突き動かされてきた。それが苦痛だと思うことも破綻していると気づく間もなくただ走り続けた。
Denial after denial. With each rejection, I lose my will to fight. My body already wants to retire, unable to take the physical shock. And yet, that very same body keeps denying him desperately.
だが、所詮は偽物だ。そんな偽善では何も救えない。いいな。もとより何を救うべきかも定まらない。
I'm sent flying. I sail through the air, not unlike during the encounter with Berserker. But I plant my feet. His blow threatened to send me tumbling into the rubble, but I stand my ground with all my might. My body knows. It's stubbornly refusing to fall because it knows that it can't get up again once it does. I plant my broken Concho in the ground and use it to support my weight. I pitch forward, nearly falling over, and I can't get up. I brace myself against Concho with both hands, holding onto it like a walking stick. I must look pathetic. From the side, I might even look like I'm kneeling before him.
その理想は破綻している。自身より他人が大切だという考え、誰もが幸福であってほしい願いなど空想のおとぎ話だ。そんな夢を抱いてしか生きられないのであれば抱いたまま溺死しろ。
My life isn't worth living. No, he said that my entire life was worthless. My weapons are gone. It's futile to even stand up. Meanwhile, he doesn't even look winded, much less wounded. This duel is decided. No, it was from the very beginning. There was no way Shiro Emiya could ever match the heroic spirit Emiya. But this is wrong too. If the gap in our abilities was truly that large, then this silly scuffle wouldn't even happen. It's my heart that's lost this fight. I'm weak because I realized that I'm wrong, and accepted that he's right. I've only lost on that front. Because...
何?
Because my body has been protesting that it won't lose to you. Why else? Why else would it get stronger every time you dismissed my ideals as fake?
ふざけんな根畜者
I can reach him. I know I can. If my weapons are broken, I'll just use them as they are. If everything I have is broken, then I'll mobilize everything I don't have. If I haven't lost, then there are depths I've still yet to reach. My headache throbs again. For an instant, I see his scenery, probably for the last time. I can't understand him, but I think I can learn from his pain. He's a hero whose incantations express and judge himself. Right now, I can't understand the will behind those words, but I'll accept them in your place.
体は
I chant the verse loud and proud. Emiya's own words hurt him. He accepted that and chose to kill me. That's all he wanted at the end of his long journey. Then, just as you deny me, I'll strike you down if it's the last thing I do.
体は剣でできている
I whisper it without thinking. I look up. On the verge of death, I stand up to him. I swallow a glob of blood that was blocking my throat. The once fading Yang sword Kansho is cloaked in a concrete image once more.
貴様まだ
そうだこんなのが夢だなんてそんなこと
I've always known that. But I've kept believing in it because I think it's right. Let's fucking go, it's the song! I followed in Kiritsugu's footsteps because it's a dream that won't come true in an impossible ideal. Even if it never comes true. Even if I keep running, I'll get close to it one day.
そうか彼女の鞘契約が切れたところでその死後は続いている
I ready my sword. I don't care about that. Right now, I just...
お前には負けない誰かに負けるのはいいけど自分には負けられない
need to keep being Shiro Emiya. Until the very end. It is an unbelievable fight between swords. He charges in despite being fully wounded. His fingers are broken, his limbs shredded. He hasn't even realized that he's not breathing anymore. His speed is insignificant, and the blows he delivers are mediocre. He may have absorbed Archer's knowledge and advanced to a point where he can fight him, but he's back to being a boy again. He executes a haphazard, mediocre attack. And yet, that first blow is heavier than any of the other attacks before. Apathy turns to astonishment. His sword seems to shout. The boy swings a longsword faster than his opponent ever imagined. Where is this power coming from? The vigor of their clash reaches an unprecedented pitch.
貴様
The man can't even pivot to defense. Each attack is lethal enough to take his head. He judges that this situation must be taken seriously, and moves his swords accordingly. Up and down, left and right. The 4 slashes unleashed in an instant are enough to cut the boy to ribbons. But he blocks them. No, the boy launches a bladed tempest that overcomes the 4-fold technique. He wields his longsword with swift skill.
こいつ
The man senses that he must attack or be cut down. The longsword assails its dying enemy. The boy swings his sword foolhardily. The two sides struggle. Sparks fill the air, declaring that any who enter the ring will be torn apart. But this should be the dying spark of a walking corpse. With each attack, the boy's breathing becomes more labored and he looks closer to collapse, but he takes another step and attacks again. Having seen this, the man is sure of something. His enemy doesn't have any strength left. The boy in front of him is a walking corpse. And yet, Yet why does the boy continue to wield the sword as if he has infinite strength? He isn't conscious of it. He doesn't know what his opponent is doing, nor can he tell if his attacks are working. He cries out, his muscles begging for oxygen. They demand that he stop due to a lack of blood. And he pushes through it all with brute force. Only one thought occupies his mind. His feelings are fake, just like this guy says. He probably can't become a hero of justice. As long as Shiro Emiya looks up to that goal, he'll reach the same destination as the man before him. But he felt that it was beautiful. He knows that it's hypocritical to value others over himself. And still, he longed for such a life, wondering how nice it would be to live that way. It's the only motivation driving his body forward on the verge of death. He can't hear what his enemy is saying. It speaks to how fierce the clash is and how meek his foe's voice is. Looking closer, the boy's hands gripping the sword have melded with the hilt. He must have done it to secure the sword, but by doing that, he will directly feel the impact from the sword. He's bloody, and if he takes a single step back, he'll pitch over. The boy's accepted that each swing of his sword will be hellish suffering. It irritates the man, but he takes it. It seems to offend his stubbornly persistent enemy. But he's just as irritated with himself for not backing down, when he knows that even one step back would end this. But how could he retreat now? There's no room for parley now, and he's in a pitched duel with his enemy. It would be shameful to turn his back to the childishly forged sword, and it would be utterly humiliating to not meet the attacks head-on. All it would take for his enemy to destroy himself is for the man to retreat one step. But he senses that he'll have conceded something decisive if he backs down now. Soon this worry will fade. His enemy is at his limits. 3 more attacks. If he repels just 3 more attacks, then his enemy will destroy himself. He clicks his tongue at his own foolishness. Just earlier, he thought the boy had 2 attacks left. Then he delivered more than 10. The boy isn't going to fall. The boy's voice is inaudible. The boy who's on the brink of death frantically goes up against the obstacle before him. And then he sees him. He looks upon him with his own eyes for the first time. I keep swinging my sword until I reach my foe, with arms ready to fall off. The only thing that can be heard is a strained yell. That shout is the price I pay for each exchange of blows. There are the people who weren't saved, and myself who wasn't saved. The memories come unbidden, and I swore that I'd never let this happen again. How many years have passed? There were things that were lost. Things I lost. There will always be things that I forget and fail to pick up. That's why I made an oath I won't forget. To become a hero of justice. To always do what's right. Even if it isn't my own wish. Even if it's just a way to lighten my own sins. I'll keep that oath. I'll make that dream come true. When I was young, someone saved me, entrusted me with his dream, and passed away alone. I believe in the wish behind his words. Even if the whole world shuns me and the oath turns out to be a curse, I won't give up. And then, the man realizes that there is no end to this repeating conflict. This enemy will not stop. The enemy will not stop on his own. His enemy makes each attack with desperate abandon, but he isn't even aware of who he's fighting. The boy is trying to cut down himself. He is the one who is doing the obstructing. The man's enemy is swinging his sword for everything he's believed in, and everything he'll continue to believe in. Realizing that, the man gnashes his teeth. He sees the boy keep fighting, even if he knows he can't win. Even if he knows there's no point. That is the exact mistake that man once made. So why? Why does he want to see how far this boy will go? He raises his long sword. The enemy's attacks can no longer be trifled with. He repels the attacks and counters with a strike meant to crush the enemy's skull with certainty. The high-pitched sound of metal. The boy repels what should have been a decisive blow. He couldn't even stop one attack until now, but he easily defended against a strike delivered with a man's full might. He holds his breath. The enemy flicks his sword and resheathes it in a single large stance. But his eyes, they're looking straight at him. The impact breaks one of my limbs. My sense of pain isn't numb at all. The pain is enough to knock me out, but I push through it with sheer rage. I'm dehydrated. I can't afford to lose any more liquid. The enemy's left arm is wide open. I've lost one side of my body, so this will have to be the last blow. But the thought doesn't enter my head. All I can think is... He slashes with the longsword in an effort to protect his exposed left chest. He can make it. It would be easy to close the distance. This is my last chance. That's the only thought on my mind. Even if Shiro Emiya is fake, this is real. He wants everyone to be happy. It's an ideal that everyone's felt, I'm sure. So I won't take it back. Because this dream will always be. His gaze is straight. Mistakes and lies. He shakes off everything that pierces him. And he continues to run without stopping. The words drive straight into his chest. The attack comes, fueled by hell-bent determination. There's enough time to block it. But the gears never turn in his head, and the battle draws to an abrupt close. Stab. He hears the sound of the blade piercing his chest. The surprised one is, of course, the Red Knight. The boy bet everything on a desperate attack, so he would expect it to defeat his opponent. He couldn't afford to make any other choice anyway. So it is the knight who is surprised. Truly, he wonders why he didn't defend against an attack that would have been easy to stop. I'm about to collapse, so I lean on my good right leg. I drove Concho into Archer's chest.
Archer. Naze?
Has she been watching the whole time? Saber asks a question from the entrance to the hall. Archer doesn't answer. Maybe he feels that he doesn't need to, or maybe he doesn't have an answer for her. My fingers feel numb. My broken fingers tell me that they can't hold a sword anymore. The Red Knight doesn't move. I might have stabbed him through the chest, but he's a servant, so he could easily counterattack. But his arms remain at his sides, and show no sign of movement. I know what that means, of course. I fix my gaze on him and declare victory. The Red Knight closes his eyes once and admits. He stares into the distance. His murmur sounds like it was meant to convince himself. I pull out the sword. The moment my projected sword touches the air, it disperses into dust as if it never existed. I finally look around, my tension drained. What a wreck. My lacerations look like they're on the mend, but in some places they're turning into a reddish-black color. Archer said something about it being Saber's sheath, but I wonder how it decides what to heal first. It heals the cuts right away, but the broken bones seem to be a lower priority. Oh. I hear hurried footsteps coming from the west side of the hall, in the direction Lancer disappeared off to. Someone's coming. She appears on the second-story terrace, jumps down to the hall floor without hesitating, and hugs herself from the pain of the fall.
Shiro, 無事? あーちゃん、あんたその傷どうしちゃったのよ?
Tosaka raises her voice to match the distress with which she arrived. Lancer rescued her just as promised. Plus, I'm honestly amazed to see Tosaka alive and well. She can't decide if she wants to check if I'm okay or be upset at Archer for getting injured.
まったくつくづく甘い。彼女がもう少し非道な人間なら私もかつての自分になど戻らなかったもの。
The Red Knight's words are sarcastic, but I can only hear warmth behind them. After giving Tosaka a look, he turns on his heel as if to leave the stage.
ともあれ決着はついた。お前を認めてしまった以上エミヤなどという英雄はここにはいられぬ。
The loser should depart quickly.
敗者は早々に立ち去るとしよう。
That was him. He isn't even going to say goodbye to Tosaka? He's heavily wounded and he doesn't have a master. Is he going to disappear here and return to where the other heroic spirits come? It all happened in an instant. A lethal attack just as I began to relax around Tosaka. Multiple swords rain down. The torrent of blades come down to skewer me as I stand around spacing out. I hit the ground. Someone pushes me and I fall backwards onto some rubble. I was shoved about a meter away. From where I am, I can only watch. My broken limbs can't support my body, and I'm too weak to even stand up. Instead, all I can do is watch another version of me get skewered before my very eyes.
何者?
Saber's challenge breaks the silence. Her voice is directed at the second floor, at the top of the broken stairs.
楽しませてもらったぞ。偽物同士。実にくだらない戦いだった。
貴様、アーチャー。
10年ぶりだな、セイバー。お前とはもう少し早く顔合わせをする気であったが、予定が変わった。予想外の事故ばかり起きてな。俺の思惑とはずれてきてしまった。
It's Gilgamesh, the servant who defeated Berserker and killed Ilya. He ignores Saber's glare and looks down at me and Archer.
さて、理解したか？それが本物の重みというものだ。いかに形を見せ力を見せようが、所詮は作り物。本物の輝きには及ばない。
He raises a hand, as if about to command an army.
偽物が作り上げた贋作など見るのも汚らわしい。クズめ。貴様らのうちには何一つ新作が存在せぬ。他人の真似事だけで出来上がった偽物は即ゴミになるがいい。
He unleashes countless noble phantasms into the hall. An unavoidable torrent falls on us. I count just under 30 noble phantasms. Even if I was still in one piece, there's nothing I could do to defend myself against this assault. Dust fills the air. The hall collapses even further, rocked by explosions. In the middle of it all, I see him. A fluttering red cloak. He runs toward me looking like a pincushion and gives me another shove. I watch his red figure fade into the distance. His eyes convey a firm message. You defeat him. He tells me that since he lost to me and I'm going to become a hero of justice, this is a villain I have to defeat. A cloud of dust blocks out my vision. The red cloak sinks into the rubble. I'm sure I saw him before he left. His confident eyes declare, this servant is no match for us. It won't be Saber or Tosaku who defeats him. My other self tells me that Shiro Emiya is the Golden Servant's natural enemy. My vision clears up. A layer of dust settles over the hall, uncovered in a new layer of rubble. Nothing else happens. The Red Knight disappeared after he was buried under the rubble.
ほう、驚いたぞアーチャー。あの傷で他人を救う余裕があったとはな。
His tone is filled with derision and irony. The man's lips curl into a smirk. He looks down at Archer's bloody remains. Silence falls. Gilgamesh is the strongest being in this place now. One wrong move and we'll follow Archer. Saber's lips are tightly sealed. She's waiting for a chance to face the enemy. However,
この誰に断って私のあーちゃんに手を出してんのよ。
Tosaka loses her temper after losing Archer. Light flies through the air. Tosaka charges a jewel with as much energy as she can and fires pure destructive energy without any modifications. Gilgamesh doesn't even try to dodge it. The attack doesn't leave a scratch on him.
死に損ないを先にするつもりだったのだが、順序が変わったな、女。
Swords floating behind him sentence Tosaka to death. They hurtle toward her at high speed, but Saber arrives even faster to deflect them, protecting her master.
セイバー。リン、下がって。あの男は危険だ。手を出せば殺されます。
ほう。今のマスターはその小娘か。よかろう。ならば今の無礼は不問に付す。お前を失っては楽しみが減るからな。
Saber just glares up at our enemy, her invisible sword at the ready.
なぜここにいるアーチャー。近江は前回の聖杯戦争で呼ばれたサーバント。そのあなたがなぜ今回も限界している。
なぜも何もあるまい。前回の戦いが終わった後、我は消えずにこの世に留まっただけだが。
そんなバカな。サーバントは聖杯が消えた時点でこの世との接点をなくすはずだ。ならばあなたが10年もの間とどまっていられるはずがない。
そうでもないぞ。もとよりこの世との接点は聖杯ではなくよりしろとなったマスターだ。聖杯はあくまで道を通したに過ぎん。聖杯が消えた後も魔術師が魔力を提供し続ければこの世にはとどまれる。もっとも聖杯の助力なしでサーバントを維持できるマスターなどそうはいないがな。その点で言えば俺のよりしろは魔力不足ではあった。
ならばどちらにせよあなたがとどまれるはずがない。サーバントを持つことにマスターが耐えられないならあなたは召喚者ともども枯渇しているはずだ。
それもやりようであろう。魔術回路が少なければ知識で補うのが魔術師という輩だ。その点で言えば俺のマスターはなかなかに筋金の入った男だった。
Past tense? So his master is no longer alive. No, Shinji was his master. The fact that the ungovernable Gilgamesh was following Shinji's orders was proof enough of that.
ではあなたのマスターはライダーのマスターと同じように。
ああ、事故で補えなければ他人から奪うのは当然だろう。だが実を言えばそのような手間もいらなかったのだがな。俺は聖杯を浴びた唯一のサーバントだ。この時代における受肉など10年前に済ませている。
Saber stares at him in shock. The mention of 10 years ago seems to pain her.
そう、お前のおかげだぞ、セイバー。あれが何であるか我は誰よりも熟知している。何しろその新欲をぶちまけられ中にあるものを見たのだからな。
ではあの時あなたは。
ああ、聖杯の正体を理解した。その時に決めた。あれは俺だけが扱うとな。
He speaks to Saber. No, the Golden Servant's decree is directed at all of us.
聖杯をあなたが使うだと。
そう、マスターなどという寄生動物に分け与えてやる義理もあるまい。俺は俺の目的のために聖杯を使おう。その最大の障害であった召喚者、先ほど消え 残ったものはより代にもならぬ魔術師もどきだけだ。俺の望みにはそのなり損ないこそがふさわしい。もっともお前の肉ならばあるいは完全な聖杯が出来上がるやもしれんが、さて。
The man eyes Tosaka. Tosaka shrinks away and goes a little pale, realizing how dangerous he is. His red eyes are ominous beyond comparison. Anyone would feel intensely uncomfortable under their gaze. His eyes are so bizarre that they even scare the unflappable Tosaka.
バカな。聖杯はマスターが得るものだ。我らサーバントでは得られないからこそマスターに協力するのだろう。
それこそがおかしな話だ。聖杯に触れられるのはサーバントだけでありながら、聖杯を得られるのはマスターだけだというのか。
しかしそれは
全てはくだらぬざれ言だ。7人のマスターによる聖杯の奪い合い、最後の一人となったマスターのみが聖杯を得る儀式だと。そんなものはただの隠れ蓑に過ぎん。もとより聖杯の恒例など済んでいる。連中は毎回聖杯を用意してから7人のサーバントを呼ぶ。わかるか騎士よ。連中が必要としたのは聖杯ではなく、その中に入るものだ。マスターなど元は我らを呼ぶためだけの回路に過ぎん。魔術師どもはな、聖杯を作りはしたがその中身を用意できなかった。先ほども言っただろ。事故で補えないのならよそから奪ってくるのが奴らだと。聖杯を満たす最高純度の魔力、守護者ともいえる霊長最強の魂こそが奴らが求めたものだ。7人のサーバントとはな、もともと聖杯にくべられる生贄のことらしいぞ。
Saber stares at him in shock. Her eyes try to deny his words. It can't be true. The Holy Grail I sought can't be something this abhorrent, she seems to be telling herself.
驚くことはあるまい。聖杯は魂という本人でなければ制御できぬ力を純粋な魔力に返すろ過器だ。ああ、確かにそれならば願いは叶おう。魔術師どもにとっては永遠に使い切れぬ魔力量だろうからな。故に生贄は多ければ多いほどよい。6人ものサーバントをくべればそれは万能と言えるだろう。聖杯が汲み取ったサーバントは5人。奴らが目指した万能の釜まではあと1人分で十分だ。
5. Rider, Lancer, Archer, Caster, Berserker, huh. What? Because we... That's weird. Okay.
それではやはり聖杯はマスターにしか扱えない。聖杯が純粋な魔力の貯蔵庫だというのなら扱えるのは魔術師だけだ。そうだ。持ち主となるマスターさえ優れた術者ならきっと。
あらゆる願いを叶えられるかたわけ。人間風情にそのような奇跡は与えられん。どれほど強大な力を持とうと自滅するのが人間というものだ。だが安心しろセイバー、この聖杯は本物だ。きちんと7人分の英霊を組み込めば必ず原初に到達する。
原初？ちょっと待った。じゃあ聖杯ってまさか。
何者かは知らんが最初にこのルールを敷いた者は間違いなく神域の天才だろうよ。まあしかし俺には関係のない話ではある。俺はそんなものに興味はない。あるのは聖杯の門としての能力だけだ。
聖杯が門だと。
Oh, right. I'll remind you.
10年前だセイバー。あと一歩で聖杯を手に入れるという時、俺はお前に阻まれた。聖杯は聖剣によって両断され、こぼれ落ちたものは炎となって町を焼き払った。聖杯の真下にいた俺は当然その本流を一身に浴びたのだ。その時に聖杯の正体を知った。実にくだらぬ、くだらぬが使い道はある。数ある兵器の中でもあれほど殺人に特化したものはあるまい。あれはあのままでいい。万能の釜になどする必要はない。
兵器、聖杯がサーバントを持って生み出すものが兵器だというのか、アーチャー。
もともと我らとて兵器だろう。あれはそれを突き詰めたものに過ぎん。聖杯とは地獄の門。一度開けば中からは56億もの呪いが溢れ出す。琴峰は言っていなかった。聖杯の名はアンリ・マユ。その名の通り、全ての人間を食い潰す終わりの泥だと。
I'll remind you. If I recall correctly, that's the name of a devil from Zoroastrianism. It's said to be a ruler of evil who's been fighting the gods for thousands of years. It's depicted as an embodiment of all of humanity's malice, to be a reflection of humanity's goodwill. So why is the Holy Grail named after some ancient Persian demon?
ではあなたの目的は？
To unseal, I'll remind you.
そう一層だ。俺は琴峰のように人間をめでようと努める気はない。めでるべきは美しいものだけだ。この世界は楽しいがな、同様にどしがたい。凡略の雑種が生を謳歌するなど王に対する冒涜だ。それでは治める気にもなれん。
バカじゃないのあんた。何が王に対する冒涜よ。人間が一人もいなくなったらそれこそ王様の意味なんてないじゃない。
死に絶えるのならばそれでよい。自らの罪で消え去るのなら生きる価値などはあるまい。俺が欲しいものは雑種ではない。地獄の中ですら生き延びられる者にこそ支配される価値がある。その点で言えば前回のは落第だったな。あの程度の火で死に絶えるなど今の人間は弱すぎる。
His lips curve up in a smile. For the first time, he looks at me, one of the failures.
この世すべての悪とやらが何者であるかは知らん。だが都合が良いだろ。すべての人間に等しく落ちる死の咎。人より生まれた人だけを殺す底なしの闇。本来俺がすべき仕事を任せるにはふさわしい猟犬だ。
Gilgamesh raises an arm. Noble phantasms float at the ready behind him, awaiting his command.
では10年前の続きといこう。あの時はくだらぬゴミが混ざったが、こたびはあのようなゴミはおらん。もっともそれ以上にたちが悪いクズが混ざっているようだが。
All of the swords turn to point at me. I try to stand up, but my broken leg won't move the way I want it to. Crap. I can't even block a single one of those swords. Then why did Archer entrust his will to me? Oh. The swords disappear. The golden servant suddenly puts down his arm. He looks up at the ceiling with displeasure and brushes something from his shoulder. The fire that went... Oh.
命拾いしたな、小僧。
The fire that Lancer started? That's all it took? The castle's on fire. I don't know who set it alight, but it seems like a pretty intense blaze. The third floor is already surrounded by flames, and they've reached the second floor. No, that's not what I should be surprised about. He really decided not to fight because his clothes got dirty.
逃げるのですか、アーチャー。
場所を変えるだけだ、セイバー。聖杯は俺の手にある。ことは迅速に済ますのが俺の方針だからな。早々に聖杯を作り、地獄の穴を開けてやろ
His blonde hair flutters. Gilgamesh walks towards a terrace that isn't on fire.
取り戻したければ早めにしろ。何しろ今回の聖杯は急増の欠陥品だ。急がなければ中身がすべてこぼれてしまうぞ。
His muffled laughter echoes. Then he leaves the burning castle. Sparks have started to dance around the great hall, and the ceiling is crumbling by the second. The formerly ornate castle doesn't resemble itself anymore. Its master gone, it crumbles away without a trace, as if to follow the pale girl. No, another interlude. Oh, great. Shinji perspective. Shinji Mato wanders through the forest, his breathing ragged and bestial. He was headed in a concrete direction, to be clear, but his mental state is utterly lost. With no objective, all he can do is run. Wandering is the only appropriate word to describe his behavior.
くそあと少しっていうところでどいつもこいつも潰しやがって
He pushes tree branches aside with one arm, splashing through the mud. Shinji heads for the forest exit, his bloodstains marking his trail. Of course, the shoulder wound Lancer gave him wasn't healed. He's already lost sensation in his right arm. His wound is red and inflamed, and his arm won't move, like a necrotized limb. He trips and stumbles into a tree. Must be difficult running with only one arm. His right arm hangs like dead weight. Then he realizes that a part of his body has become dead weight and starts to laugh. His laugh turns into a coughing fit. It hurts. He feels hot and feverish, perhaps due to the wound. His hazy mind imagines his arm rotting away. Then he starts to hallucinate about all the people around him also rotting away. Not just their arms. All those other idiots should know their place and be hurt even worse than he is. He can't stop laughing. The thought makes the pain slightly more bearable. He has a real purpose now. His first goal is to gather arms. He'll take arms from everyone, no exceptions.
そりゃいいじゃあ一番初めは決まってる
The girl who wouldn't do what he said. She's the one he likes the most, and he can't stand the thought of her looking prettier than him.
待っててよどうさかすぐに僕以下にしてやるからさ
Shinji mumbles a laugh, then looks up. That servant is standing in front of him. When did he get there?
お前
He stares at the servant. The golden servant looks down at Shinji the way one might look at livestock.
傷を負ったのか。ひどいな。それではさぞかし痛かろう。
His tone is utterly disinterested. Shinji's face distorts. He glares at the man in front of him, failing to realize what the servant's words might have implied.
痛かろうだと誰のせいだと思っているんだお前が間抜けだからランサーなんかにやられたんだぞ番犬役もできないくせに偉そうなことを言うな
Shinji rages at the servant. The golden servant nods, unconcerned.
その傷はランサーにつけられたのか。では、あのマスターを逃がしたのは奴だったのだな。
ああそうだよお前がグズだから遠坂を逃がしちまったんだあんな死に損ないに取られるなんて思い出しただけで吐き気がする
そうかそれは残念だ
何落ち着き払ってんだよ遠坂がいなけりゃ聖杯が手に入らないんだろさあお前のせいで全部台無しだ分かってんのかよこれからどうすれば
安心しろ予定に狂いはない聖杯は作り出せる
The servant speaks emotionlessly. Shinji doesn't realize that the servant's red eyes aren't even looking at him.
どうやって いくら聖杯があってもその器がないとできないって琴峰も言ってたじゃないか。あのガキの心臓だけじゃ意味がない。あれは優れた魔術回路につなげないと聖杯にならないんだろ。
Shinji approaches his servant and berates him for his incompetence. The golden servant nods again.
だから問題ない。よりしろになるマスターならここにもう一人いるじゃないか。
You're gonna turn Shinji into the Grail? Then he casually thrusts his arm out. Squish. Shinji doesn't realize what the noise was until the very end. His stomach feels strange. When he looks down, he sees a servant's arm. The fist is embedded in his body. It doesn't hurt, nor is there any blood. The servant's arm sinks deep into his stomach as if performing some outlandish spiritual surgery.
聖杯が欲しいのだろう。ならばくれてやろう。大事なものなら二度と手放すな。
Blood vessels swell. He feels something alien swarming and writhing inside him. And then he ceases to be Shinji Mato. He convulses. There's just a swollen hunk of meat there now. It has no clear shape. It's made up only of naked muscles and blood vessels, sudden growths of meat and short-lived decaying meat. His mind breaks, unable to withstand the discomfort of something wriggling inside him, and the pain of endless growth and decay. The servant watches for a while, then departs as if nothing remarkable happened.
憎いな。力ある魔術師ならば変貌することもないだろうが、まあ仕方があるまい。
Chains extend out. The chain of the heavens appears in midair to bind the infinitely expanding and rotting mass of flesh. Currently, it's teetering between growth and decay, but the Holy Grail should quickly learn how to use its host. Once that happens, the growth should greatly exceed the decay. At this rate, his Holy Grail will soon be complete.
ゲテモノの方が味は良い。何よりお前ならばふさわしい泥を吐き出すだろう、シンジ。
The servant chortles. In his shadow, the mass of flesh repeats, "Help me," in a no longer human voice. Well, I can't say Shinji didn't get what he deserved. Alright. I am utterly uninterested in something bad happening to Shinji. It's like, that's just a matter of course. It's fine.
シロ、傷はもう痛まないのですか？
え、ああ、うん。そっちの方は問題ない。至って健康だし、中身だってまだ使える。
そうですか。それならいいのですが。
She ends the conversation, but it seems something else is still on her mind. It's been an hour since we've returned. We both have something on our minds, but nothing is said. We don't have time to be glad that Tosaka is safe for now. Nor do we have time to celebrate our reunion. We're still in a dire situation. The last servant, Gilgamesh. As long as he holds the Holy Grail, we have no choice but to fight him. We don't have a plan to break out of this predicament. The more we think about it, the more we are hit with a feeling of despair. Of course, we wouldn't have anything to say to each other. However, that's not the only reason we're silent. It's probably because this is the last. This will be the last time we're heading into battle. It doesn't matter what's the result, win or lose. What awaits us will be the same. The Holy Grail War will end here. After that, the three of us won't be able to talk like this again. Thinking back, we've only spent 10 short days together. We were thrust into one happening after another during these 10 days. So much so that we didn't even have time to think about what happened yesterday. But it's not all bad memories during these 10 days. Now thinking back, there are irreplaceable memories I've made in these 10 days. And that's the reason we are not saying anything. We don't want to admit our time together is ending, and we're swallowing the words we want to say. Tosaka, Saber, and myself all have the answers in our heads. The reason we won't say it out loud is because we don't want to end what we had in the manner of what we have now.
じゃあ私から言うけど、私はアーチャーの仇を討つ。裏切られたしひどいやつだったけど、あいつはシローだったから。
Tosaka said so with determination in her voice. We will face Gilgamesh. She has said it clearly that we will end this fight.
シローはセイバーにはどうしたって付き合ってもらうけど、マスターじゃないあなたには無理強いできない。あの金ピカ、シローを目の敵にしてるみたいだし、戦うのなら真っ先に狙われると思うけど。
Maybe she's being considerate. She's even given me a reason to back out. But I have my answer already. I can't leave Gilgamesh alone. Also, I have a hunch that the Holy Grail he's trying to use is not something that should exist. But there's another reason why I can't back out. You will defeat him. He left behind those words and chose to keep me alive instead of himself. The same man whose existence is to deny Shiro Emiya. Now that I have made him admit defeat, there's only one path left for me to take.
奴を倒す。自分で戦うと決めたんだ。最後までそれを守らなくちゃ。あいつになんて文句を言われるかわからないだろう。
そう。あなたがそう決めたのなら止めないわよ。
ああ、頼む。それに聖杯は放っておけない。聖杯が奴の言う通りのものだとしたら、そんなものは壊した方がいい。今度こそ完全にこんなことを二度と繰り返さないようにだ。
Saber's been fighting for the sole purpose of gaining the Holy Grail. That hesitation and regret are not something that can be easily erased. Even then.
承知しています。聖杯がギルガメッシュの言う通りのものならば、それはこの世にあってはならないものです。
She agrees to our plan by sacrificing her own wish.
よし。
I stand up from the floor and start walking towards the kitchen. I reach for my equipment in the kitchen. I put on my apron and roll up my sleeves, getting ready for a different kind of battle.
シロ何かいいアイデアでも思いついたの？
ね、あ、いや、飯作ろうと思って。二人とも腹減ってるだろ。
Ignoring the dumbfounded two, I start making preparations for dinner.
話は決まったんだ。なら、あとはいつも通りにしよう。三人で夕食をとって、その後で奴を倒しに行けばいい。
I take out the bowl and frying pan. I'll use up everything I have in the fridge. There's no need to hold back. We're going to have a feast.
ええ、そうですね。いつも通り夕食を迎えましょう。私たちにはその方が合っている。
そうね。じゃあ私も手伝おっかな。セイバーはお風呂沸かしてきて。
The heavy atmosphere we had just moments ago is gone. The living room feels brighter and livelier. A night with the three of us together that will never come again. But in order to make it feel like any other day, we do our best to make sure we can enjoy our dinner in the most lively way possible. And after we finish and clean up our Western and Japanese mixed-style dinner, we resume our strategizing session.
では、リンは竜道寺に聖杯があると。
ええ、前から今回の恒例場所は竜道寺だと睨んでたのよ。キャスター対策で監視役の使い魔を放ってたんだけど、それもついさっき潰れたし、あの金ピカ竜道寺に陣取ってると見て間違いないわ。
竜道寺ですか。厄介ですね。あの山には山門からでしか侵入できない。当然ギルガメッシュも 山門で待ち構えているでしょう。
そうね。けど逆に言えば位置が特定できて助かるわ。あいつも厄介だけど聖杯の召喚を止める方が先決だもの。セイバーにはあいつの足止めをしてもらって、その隙に私たちで聖杯を壊すっていうのが理想でしょうね。
待った、聖杯を壊すってそれはセイバーじゃないとできないんじゃないのか。
Yeah,
俺
that's
たちじゃ
true.
聖杯には
Saber
触れ
has
ない
to
ん
be
だ。
the one to destroy the Holy Grail.
そうね。私たちに呼び出された聖杯を壊すことはできない。けどその前に聖杯の器を壊すことはできる。正確には聖杯が発動する前に停止させるってことだけど。
聖杯を停止させるってどういう意味だ。
あんまり考えたくないんだけど、今までの話を総合すると聖杯はイリアスフィールの心臓でしょ。けど聖杯っていうのはイリアスフィールの体、魔術回路とセットだと思う。あいつはイリアスフィールが聖杯になることを嫌がって核となる機関だけを引き抜いたとするとね、聖杯として機能させるためにはもう一度魔術師の体に埋め込まないといけない。残ったマスターは私とあと一人だけ。
Yeah, we know how that ended.
私がここにいる以上、あいつが聖杯基盤に選ぶのは。
シンジってことか。けどシンジには
Yeah, he doesn't have any magic circuits.
魔術回路がないって言うんでしょ。きっとそんなの構わないのよ、あいつは。不完全な聖杯を作りたがってるんだから、
That's true.
不完全なマスターに埋め込むでしょうね。血が絶えたって言っても魔党の血族には遺伝的に魔術回路の跡があるし、イリアスフィールの心臓なんてそんな核融合炉をつけられたら閉じてた回路だって力ずくで開かれるわ。
In that case, what we need to do first is separate Shinji from the Grail. I don't understand what it means to become the foundation for the Grail, but we must stop it if we can make it.
ですがそれをギルガメッシュが許すとは思えない。
Oh, no, he absolutely will not.
聖杯を止めるということはギルガメッシュを倒すということではないのですか。
そうだな。あいつが聖杯を守っているのは明白なんだから、まずあいつをどうにかしないと話にならない。
そうね。けどあいつ山門で私たちを待ち受けてると思うのよ。私たちの最大の戦力であるセイバーが山門からしか入れない以上、それ以外の突入経路はないんだもの。だから。なるほど。私は単身で山門から突入する。リンとシローはその隙に裏から竜道寺に侵入するのですね。マスターである二人なら竜道寺の結界も意味はない。 そういうこと。セイバーには頑張ってもらうしかないんだけど、とにかくあいつの足止めをして。私たちも聖杯を止め次第すぐに駆けつけるから。
待った、それは無茶だ。セイバーじゃあいつにはかなわない。足止めなんてできないぞ、きっと。
何よ、やけにあいつの肩を持つわね、シロ。
全くです。確かに彼は強敵だが、それでも防戦に徹すれば私とて簡単には敗れません。その根拠を言ってください、シロ。
いや、そういう意味じゃないんだ。俺が見た限りあいつよりセイバーの方が強い。これは絶対だ。かけてもいい。
ではなぜそのようなことを言うのです。
だから英霊である限りあいつには勝てないんだ。そうだな。もしあいつがセイバーと同じ宝具しか持ってないのなら、セイバーはまず負けない。剣士としての能力は比べるまでもないんだから。けどあいつの強さはそういう個人としての強さじゃないんだ。どんなに優れた兵士でも戦争そのものには勝てないだろ。
Right, and instead of being a soldier, Gilgamesh is basically just a war.
あいつはそういう類の英霊だ。対抗するには同じ戦争じゃないと飲み込まれる。
つまりシロは私と彼とでは相性が悪いと言っているのですね。
Kind of.
ああ、そういうこと。だから登坂、何の策もなしでセイバーとあいつは戦わせられない。 せめて突破口ぐらいないと勝ち目がないんだ。
そんなこと言われなくても分かってるわよ。だから今からそれを考えようって言ってるんじゃない。
ではリンには策があるのですね。
あのね、そう都合よく思いつくはずないでしょ。シローの言った通り、あいつの宝具は戦争だもの。戦争っていうのは戦力をどれだけ整えたかで勝敗が決まるものでしょ。いかに上手に兵器を扱えるかじゃなくて、どれだけ相手と同じ戦力を。
なんだよ遠坂、いきなり黙り込んで。
そっか、だから目の敵にしてたんだ。そうよね、自分の宝具を持たない英霊なら
Oh.
原点になる武器さえ存在しない。
That makes sense. So he can't easily counter
待
Shiro.
てよ、それってつまり。
リン、どうしたのです。いきなり私の背後に回って。
なんでもない。ちょっと考え事するから二人で勝手に会議してて。
Saber and I look at each other. Well, if Tosaka has an idea, then it's better we leave her alone.
ではそうなるとアーチャーとの一騎打ちは避けた方がいいということですね。ですが私とてリンのバックアップがある。彼女からの供給があれば封印していた私の宝具も問題なく使用できます。それならば彼が宝具を使用する前に倒せる可能性もあるのですが。
セイバーの宝具、それって風王結界じゃなくて。
はい、風王結界は鞘に過ぎません。
Yep.
リンの許しがあれば私は自らの聖剣を使用できます。前回聖杯を破壊したのもその件です。
そうか、じゃあそのあたりは遠坂次第ってことか。
そうですね。聖剣を使用すれば私だけでなくリンにも大きな負担がかかります。
だってさ遠坂、お前の魔力量どのくらい余裕があるんだ。
魔力量って、なんで私の考えてることわかるのよあんた。なんでもない。私のことは放っておけって言ったでしょ。言っとくけど、私とセイバーじゃ撃てて2回よ。
Yeah, I imagine she doesn't have much left.
1回は聖杯に使うんだから、ギルガメッシュとの戦いに使うっていうなら1回だけだからね。
セイバー、遠坂はそう言ってるけどどうだ。
わかりません。アーチャーがあらゆる宝具を持つというのなら私の宝具と拮抗するものも所有しているでしょう。そうなればあとはどちらの宝具が優れているかという戦いになる。
そうか、結局宝具の競い合いになるのは否めないのか。
If it ends up like that, Gilgamesh will have the upper hand. I won't let Saber walk into a reckless fight like that, but... Damn it, I can't put my thoughts together. By the way, what exactly is Tosaka doing? She's been acting weird. I say that because she's been looking in my direction, then quickly looking away.
はい、遠坂、言いたいことがあるなら言えよ。アイデアあるんだろ。
ないわよ。こんなところで言えるわけないでしょ、バカ。
I don't understand what made her say something like that, then quickly look away as if something weird is on my face.
シロ、
いや、なんでもない。あいつは変なんでほっといて話を進めよう。
And so we're continuing our strategy meeting with just the two of us. But without Tosaka, the brain of our operation, we can't really think of an effective strategy to overcome our predicament.
ないんならさっきの案でいいでしょ。決行は夜明け前だから、それまで各自自分の部屋で十分に休みを取っておくように。
Tosaka has unilaterally decided the direction for us. Time is passing by. The hands on the clock are about to signal a new day. Tosaka told me to at least take a nap, but I'm not really in any condition to fall asleep. In a few hours, we'll have to face that servant. If we move right before dawn, that means everything will be over by the time the sun rises. There's no way I can stay still in a time like this. I should strategize with Tosaka.
そうだな。こんな状況で眠ってられるか。
A strategy against Gilgamesh. If we are to face a cold-hearted enemy like that, we will end up with nothing but regret if we don't try to find an opportunity. If we go to Rito Temple now, I'm sure someone's going to die. Rather than end up with a regret like that, it's not a shame to try and do anything, to struggle until the very last moment.
トサカ、起きてるか？
I knock on her door.
ちょっと待った、絶対入るな。
Knowing Tosaka, I thought she would be sleeping by now, but it seems she's still awake. Not only that, she's panicking. I can hear her running around in the room for something. Seems she's finally calming down. After a loud, deep breath that I hear through the wall, she opens the door.
で、何よ。
She glares at me as soon as we see each other.
いや、何って話の続きだよ。ギルガメッシュへの対抗策をもう少し考えたいんだ。
Huh. Why are you staring me down like that?
トサカ、もしかして今すごく不機嫌か？
I already know what she's going to say, but it doesn't hurt to ask. What do you think? She'd obviously yell at me, but I really am curious, so I end up asking her anyway. However...
別にそういうわけじゃないわ。
Well, now she's making me even more confused.
トサカ、お前熱でもあるのか？
ないわよ。もういいから入ったら。ギルガメッシュをどうこうするかってことならこっちから行こうと思ってたんだから。
Tosaka drags me inside the room and locks the door. Then she slowly moves back into the room. Anyway, I start to move toward the center of the room. Facing toward Tosaka, I sit down across from her. Silence. She said she had something she wanted to talk to me about, yet she's not saying a word right now.
トサカ、ギルガメッシュのことなんだが。
分かってるわよ。セイバーと戦わせたくないって言うんでしょ。セイバーには優しいのよね、ヘミヤ。
な、そういう話じゃないだろう。単にセイバーじゃあいつとは相性が悪いから配置換えをするべきだって話だ。足止め役のセイバーが倒されたら次に狙われるのはトサカなんだから。
じゃあ配置換えって言うけどどうするつもりよ。私はパスよ。あの金ピカ金に焼かせて大魔術の武装をまとってるし、私じゃあセイバー以上に相性が悪いわ。それはあなただって同じでしょ。
She's right. But I just can't forget those eyes. What Archer's gaze was trying to tell me. That golden servant. Only Shiro Emiya can go up against Gilgamesh.
トサカ、怒らないで聞いてくれ。あいつの相手は俺が。
あなたがするって言うんでしょ。なんだ、やっぱり気づいてたんだ。ギルガメッシュの宝具の天敵はアーチャーの魔術なんだって。
My jaw dropped.
えって、シロ、あんた気づいてなかったっていうのにそんなふざけたこと口走ったわけ？
いや、それは確証がなかっただけで、俺たちの中なら一番俺に可能性があるかなと。
誰に入れ知恵されたか知らないけど、それは間違いじゃないわ。ギルガメッシュを最強たらしめているのは宝具の数でしょ。けど逆を言えば同じ数の宝具さえ持っていれば力は拮抗する。
同じ数の宝具。
Basically, I just need to copy every single one of his weapons as soon as he unleashes them.
そうよ。あいつはあなたたちのことを偽物だって言ってたけど、それは敵として脅威を感じたからでしょうね。あいつは英霊エミヤに対してだけは互角の戦いをせざるを得ないんだから。
That's true, but
そうかもしれない。けど無理がある。アーチャーの剣を一本投影するだけでボロが出るんだぞ。あんな次から次に宝具を出されたら投影も間に合わないし魔力も持たない。
あなたの魔術が今までと同じならね。けどアーチャーの宝具が何だったか覚えてるでしょ。あの魔術固有結界さえ使いこなせるようになればギルガメッシュに対抗できる。
So you want him to learn how to use a reality marble in a matter of a few hours? Tosaka stares at me with high expectations. Unfortunately, I can't answer her expectations.
無茶だ。固有結界ってのは禁呪中の禁呪じゃないか。やり方がわからないし、アーチャーが世界を作るときに使った魔力は俺の数倍だぞ。
ええ、無理なのは分かってるけど、やり方ならあなたはもう知ってるはずよ。だってあなたの魔術は結局みんなそれなんだもの。強化も投影もあなたの固有結界から漏れたものに過ぎない。必要な魔力さえあれば驚くぐらい簡単に歯車が噛み合うと思う。
仮にそうだとしても無理なことに変わりはないだろう。俺には結界を張る魔力も維持する魔力もないんだ。あいつは長い年月をかけて魔術回路を鍛えていったんだろうけど、俺にはあいつほどの魔力が。
分かってる。でもギルガメッシュも言ってたでしょ。自分で補えないならよそから持ってくるのが魔術師だって。
だから俺にはそんなよそから魔力をもらってくるなんて器用な真似はできないんだって。遠坂みたいに宝石に魔力を貯めているわけでもないし。もしかしてあの宝石を使おうっていうのか。
Of course, I don't think she'll agree to that, seeing I don't have any training in magecraft to be able to utilize those gems.
それで済むならとっくに渡してるわ。けど私の宝石は私にしか変換できないから却下。でもアプローチとしてはそれしかない。他人の魔力を自分のものとして扱うのにはいろいろと手順があって、現状でできることといったらもうそれぐらいしかないわけだし。
なあ遠坂、どんな考えかぐらい教えてくれないか。これじゃあ相談にも乗れない。
そんなことシロに言えるわけないじゃない。
It seems she's thinking about something that's hard to tell me.
なんでもないの。方法はいくつか考えられるんだけど、その中で可能性の低いものを取捨選択していただけで。
そうなのか。それでいい考えがあるのか。
率直に言うと私とあなたの問題。魔力の蓄えのある魔術師同士をつないでやりくりする方法よ。
俺と遠坂の間にパスを通して魔力の融通をする。
そう。シロに固有結界を使うための魔力量が足りなくても私にはある。あなたには私の魔力を使ってギルガメシュと戦ってもらう。その間に私とセイバーが聖杯を破壊する。こっちにはセイバーがいるんだから、私の魔力が多少減っても戦力が拮抗するわ。
If I can use my reality marble to hold Gilgamesh back, without any other servants and masters, the Holy Grail is left wide open. Tosaka being a mage and having Saber by her side, our chances of success is high enough.
しかしだな、その前の段階が難しいというか、俺はパスの通し方なんてわからない。
そんなの承知の上でよ。その方法を考えるのが私の役目なんだし。
Tosaka is thinking of something, but she doesn't look optimistic about it.
パスの通し方だけど、即効性があって魔力の融通が可能となると方法は数えるほどしかない。一番有効なのは魔術回路をお互いに移植すること。
Transplant our magic circuits into each other. Magic circuits are secondary pseudo-nerves that can be said to define a mage. Using Ode to exert influence on mana, the core mechanism of mage. It's a living inheritance to make sure one's bloodline can have the foundation necessary to realize their family's great work when they've reached the pinnacle. You can say that it's like one's blood and bone that strengthen as time goes on.
魔術回路って俺たちの中にあるあれか。
そう魔術師の本質をお互いに移植すればこれほど確実なパスはないわ。相手の回路の一部が自分のものになればそこへ魔力を伝えることは造作もない。
Her explanation is short and simple, yet contains a sense of guilt. Of course it would. I can't even begin to imagine the consequences of doing something as crazy as transplanting your magic circuits into someone else. For a person to offer their own magic circuits to be transplanted, it also means they're giving up their integrity as a mage. But that makes this easier.
よし、俺の魔術回路を移植しよう。なんだよ、遠坂。
気持ちは嬉しいけど却下だって意味ないものそれ。
You have to get hers. Right in my face. She just ends up throwing my resolve right back in my face.
なんで？
いい？そもそも魔力を融通するのはシロウの固有結界を使うためでしょ。なのにシロウの魔術回路を減らしてどうするのよ。私の魔力とシロウの全魔術回路を使って初めてあの固有結界は実現できるんだから。
I see. I'm the one who will use the reality marble. I'll only be able to create a fantasy big enough to corrode the world itself when I fully exert my magic circuits. If I were to transplant some of my magic circuits to Tosaka to create a path, then I wouldn't have enough circuits to perform my magecraft, which would defeat the purpose.
分かった。手間暇かけて戦力ダウンしているようなものよ、シロ。
すまない。そこまで考えが及ばなかった。
いいわ、そんなに謝らなくても。今の返答それなりに予想してたし、ま、即答だったのは予想外だったけど。
じゃあ遠坂の魔術回路を俺に？
But that also means...
確かにシロウの回路を私に移植するより逆の方が戦力は確保できる。でも移植の儀式をするのは私。魔術回路を使いながらその回路自体を減らしていくだなんていうのは術そのものの安定が確保できない。スカイマの契約ほど形式化していれば安全性は確保できるけど、魔術師同士のパスのためなんてのはあんまり例がないことだし。
共倒れになるかもしれないってことか。
そう、あなたの魔術回路を私がもらうのは論外。私の魔術回路をあなたにあげるのは惜しい不正解ってところね。だからあなたに私の魔術刻印を移植する。
Oh. Magic Crest. It records the secrets and hidden arts of a mage family. It's their history. If magic circuits are the blood and bones of a mage, then one could say that the crest is their muscle. A magic crest is magecraft taking form. Through the life work of a mage leading the family in that generation, what was supposed to be formless is then given form. It is the proof of a mage's existence. Tosaka having inherited her family's crest, she gets to enact the magecraft that this generation's family had created.
いや、それは
分け与えるということなら魔術刻印の方が何倍も楽よ。魔術回路と違って本当に受け渡すためのものだから。
It's just everything for you, isn't it?
まあ魔術回路ほど私そのものでもないけど、遠坂の家系でできているものだしパスとして使う分には十分よ。
それは本当に？
本当だってば。刻印化している魔術はまあ使い物にならなくなるけど、受信装置としての役割ぐらいになら作り変えられるわよ。ああ、それとも成功率の話？一族じゃない人間に魔術刻印を移植できるかってこと？
ああ、それも一応気になるけど。
大丈夫、任せなさい。きっかり白をバックアップしてセイバーと3人で勝ち残って聖杯を手に入れるから。もう決めたことだもの。ここ一番の失敗も今回ばかりはねじ伏せてやるわ。
She asserts confidently with a bright smile. There's nothing else that needs to be said. Removing her magic crest. That's the same as delaying her family's ultimate wish with her own hands. I've seen that so many times. The fact that she could overcome that truth with a simple smile and with such determination is her strength. And I've seen it so many times.
何よ、 急に物分かりいい顔して。私の顔なんか変？
ああ、そうだな。初めて教会に行った時と同じだ。なんていうか、遠坂のいいところって分かりづらいよな。
失礼な言い草ね。それで思い出したけど、あの時私って変な顔してたの？
The fated night when I summoned Saber. Tosaka looked seriously worried about me, someone who's just her enemy, when I got sick at the church. I'll never forget how much that expression saved me. I can't say too much about others, but Tosaka was really a nice person. Probably nicer than anyone I've ever met.
まあ変な顔だった。俺あの時はまだ遠坂のことを優等生だって思ってたし、あんな顔するなんて思わなかった。
どうせ猫かぶりで冷酷な女ですよ。分かりづらくて悪かったわね。
Yes, but I've been saved by her. She's kind yet realistic. She has the heart of steel who's willing to discard her weakness at a moment's notice. She hides her hesitation and troubles in her heart, and always shows the elegant side of her to everyone, treading forward on her own path with grace.
で、それはいいけど、なんでジロジロこっち見るのよ、あんた。
ああ、そっか。ちょい見とれてたみたいだ。今更だけどさ、そういう遠坂だから俺は好きになったんだなって。
Then I can't lose. She's willing to transplant her magical crest to me without hesitation and regret. Then I must repay her kindness with my own trust.
好きって、今はそういう話をしてる場合じゃないけど、聞いてあげるぐらいなら構わないというか。
Tosaka is readying herself. I'm glad. It seems she's prepared and has noticed my resolve.
ああ、分かってる。時間もないし、無駄話をしている暇はないよな。さ、早く移植を始めよう。具体的にはどうすればいいんだ、遠坂。
Her mouth is wide open. That's weird. Did I just say something funny?
なんだよ。なんか都合の悪いことでも思い出しちまったか。
Sure, you dumbass. For example, some kind of jinx that prevents us from performing the ritual at a certain time of day.
別に、ちょっと頭痛がするだけ。慣れたつもりだったけど、エミヤ君の巡りの悪さを甘く見ていたわ。ほんと、今に始まったことじゃないからいいけどね。言葉自体はまあ悪くなかったからよしにしといてあげるわ。
She swings her body and turns away from me. Then she starts to take various items out of her bag.
はい、とりあえずこれ飲んで。痛み止めみたいなものだから。
おう。
I put the lozenge in my mouth. Tosaka turns off the light in the room and starts to draw some kind of pattern on the floor. About 5 minutes have passed. After the preparation is complete, Tosaka sits down on the bed.
それで遠坂、俺はどうすればいいんだ。
Doesn't seem like she didn't hear my question. But Tosaka is having this strange troubled look on her face.
なんだよ。言いにくいことなのか。覚悟はできてるからな。大抵の無茶なら驚かないぞ。
This is what I meant by trust. Tosaka nods her head.
じゃあ言いにくいんだけど、とりあえず服を脱ぎなさい。
With nervousness in her tone, she issued me a command I'm not used to. Let's assess the situation. The lights are off. Tosaka is sitting on the bed with her head down, clearly nervous. Why am I only realizing this now? Tosaka's soft-looking body and her supple legs dangling above the floor, making her look very seductive. And she's asking me to take off my clothes.
そこ変な誤解しない。単に服を脱げって言っただけでしょ。私だって脱ぐんだから公平だし。
I took my weird fantasy back after she yelled at me.
遠坂も脱ぐ
I don't know how else to interpret what she said other than taking it as exactly what it is.
だから境界しない。服を脱ぐのは体温を伝えやすくするためで、それ以上の意味はないんだから。いい？魔術刻印の移植には高度な共感状態にならないといけないのよ。そのためにも余分なものはできるだけ剥ぎ取っておかないとダメでしょ。
ああ、なるほど。
Of course. I'm not sure what transplanting a magic crest actually looks like, but from the sound of it, it could be similar to a medical transplant. I guess you wouldn't operate on a patient when they're fully clothed.
ちゃんと説明してくれればいいのに。上だけでいいんだよな。
当たり前でしょ。下まで脱いだらそこのヒーター投げつけるから。
It's scary thinking of what she might actually do. Taking off my top. I have had her take care of my injuries a few times already, but it still feels a little embarrassing. I can hear Tosaka taking a deep breath in the dark.
じゃあ次ね。シロ、ちょっとあっち向いてて。
そうか。遠坂も脱がなきゃいけないのか。
No answer. Taking her silence as affirmation, I quietly turn around. As I turn my back towards her, I take a deep breath to calm myself. I'm going to receive her magic crest and create a path between us. Her magical energy will pass through it and allow me to activate the reality marble in order to defeat the servant. This is simply a process in this long and dangerous fight. I should be able to suppress unnecessary thoughts by just reaffirming that fact to myself.
いいわよ、シロ。
My heart skips a beat. I turn around slowly to face Tosaka. I let out a sound. It might seem rude, but I'm troubled by what I'm seeing.
遠坂。なんだ、その気合の入らない脱ぎ方は。
Tosaka is taking off some clothes, but from the way she removed them, I don't feel any resolve in her.
何よ、不満だっていうの？
不満というよりバランスが悪いというか。だいたいこっちは上着を全部取ってるのに、遠坂はそれだけだと比率が合わないし、どうもシンメトリーじゃないのは落ち着かない。
わかった。両足とも脱げばいいのね。こやつ、思いもよらずマニアックな。
Well, I shouldn't press further on what we were talking about.
いいけど、儀式を行うのは遠坂だし、それで成功するっていうなら文句はない。
そりゃ脱がない分難度は上がるけど、だって全部見せちゃうのもったいないというか。
Tosaka's murmuring to herself. Fortunately, it's taking everything in me to keep calm, so I don't have any energy left to argue with Tosaka.
じゃあシロ、もう一度後ろ向いてて。
She whispers to me, and I turn around immediately. This time, the sound of Tosaka's clothes rustling lasts a little longer than before. Once again, I remind myself that this is a serious ritual. Even if Tosaka is in her most exposed and defenseless form, my becoming frantic will ruin this whole thing.
今度はこれでどう？シロ。
Tosaka's voice trembles. I slowly look over Tosaka's body. I can faintly see the soft outline of her body under the dim lamplight. Her shoulder, neck, and collarbone form the most beautiful silhouette.
どう？これで満足？
I'm relieved that even when she looks so beautiful, she's still the same snappy Tosaka. I try to relax my expression as I feel that I may have unknowingly broken into a smile.
文句なし。逆にこっちがきつい。
I cover my face with my hands and take a very deep breath. If I don't at least hide my face, which is probably red as an apple right now, I'll lose my composure.
その顔を見れただけでアイコンにしとく。じゃあシロ、こっち来て。
Tosaka makes a gesture, beckoning me to join her at the bed. We sit facing each other on the bed. The bed bounces, reacting to our weight. Without saying a word, we both take in a deep breath. Tosaka is going to start the magic crest transplant ritual. I force myself to calm down before this intimate encounter. My consciousness is getting clearer as I focus my mind.
始めるわ。シローの胸にこれを当てて。
She reaches out her left hand with her magic crest. As I began receiving magical energy, the pattern on the upper area of my arm faintly started to shine.
同調した後にシローの魔術回路に魔術刻印を移植する。魔術刻印は筆境他人の体。植え付けられるのは異物を盛り込まれることだから、体は拒絶反応を示すかもしれないわ。
わかった。そういう荒事には慣れてる。
This is no different from how I was training to use my magical circuit. Activating a foreign nerve system while learning to control it. Not sure if it will be the same experience as with the magic crest.
そうね。体に無茶させるのは慣れてるんだっけ。
Maybe because this reminded her of my unusual training, but Tosaka lets out a small giggle. However,
それはそれとして、変なことしたら殺すからね。
she glares at me with narrowed eyes.
変なことって例えば。
She ignored me. I shorten the distance between us to the point that our shoulders are practically bumping together. It looks like I'm embracing Tosaka's left hand. I can feel Tosaka's breath on my neck. But then I realize she isn't just breathing.
意欲将来。刻印制御。第一、第16停止。
Her breath trembles as she utters the incantation. I can sense that magical energy is filling her body through her left hand. Her delicate fingers are placed on my chest. Through them I can feel her pulse together with my own heartbeat.
名薬を刻む。一つ、二つ、三つ、四つ、五つ、六つ、数えなく。
I close my eyes to concentrate even further. My heartbeat is syncing with the pulse of her magical energy. She's adjusting her pulse to match mine, while I maintain a steady rhythm. I focus my mind and keep it in a serene state like I do during my own training. This is the only thing I can do since I've never experienced synchronization and don't have a feel for it.
小さく、大きく。大きく、小さく。 記憶発症。
My eyelids are closed as if they've been sewn shut. My sense of smell is weakening and my sense of taste is fading. My body's senses are getting distorted. I can't tell clearly if I'm sitting down or standing up. In contrast, I can feel the warmth of Tosaka's skin intimately. My own heartbeat and Tosaka's pulse. I can't tell which is which anymore. A phantom pain as if someone were having a hold over my heart. A phantom experience as if I am gripping someone's heart. I move around my fingers trying to identify this feeling I have in my palm. My hearing still works, and I hear a sound just now. Wait, my senses are mixed up. I can't tell if that was my body I touched or if that was Tosaka's voice I heard. The breaths that escape from her mouth are pained. Even while knowing that it isn't my own breath that I'm hearing, I can't help but listen to it.
ちょっと真面目にやりなさいよ、シロ。
A voice from inside of me just yelled at me. I try to ask what's happening and what's going to happen.
今は同調の初期段階よ。だから感覚が入れ替わって混乱している。これから本番が来るわよ。集中しないと共有感覚に弾かれるから。
That was as much as I could hear before I suddenly lost myself. It feels like my body has turned to paper and is rapidly being folded up. Slowly, the paper that is my body is being carefully tucked away, But since time has stopped for the surrounding world, from the outside it probably seems like all this is happening at the speed of light. There's no limit to this repeated process of accumulation and contraction. Even though there is a limit to how many times you can fold up a two-dimensional surface no matter how much area it has, my body keeps folding inward. My vision turns blue, while it was red before I was folded up. I'm floating. I'm falling yet floating at the same time, and the world is passing me by at a rapid speed. I try to reach out my hand to familiarize myself in this world where acceleration and termination exist at the same time. Ah. I just realized that my arms were already folded away, so there's nothing for me to reach out with. Now that's an issue. I already severed things that I've deemed unnecessary to this place, but I didn't think I would lose my arms and legs. If this keeps up, then I'll lose my sense of self. That's why the first thing I need to do is not to confirm the world, but to assume my own form. I squeeze my hands. Although temporary, I have certainly achieved a sense of self. I'm floating in a blue celestial sphere. There's no up or down, no sky or earth. It's quiet. I'm not talking about sound, but my current finite state of serenity. Time is flowing on the outside. Blue sea fills the outside. There's nothing within the celestial sphere. That means this celestial sphere is the sky to the blue sea. The egg of the world. Is the celestial sphere being covered in shells? Or is the celestial sphere flipped inside out? Does the void give birth to all? Or does the void seep out from all? The celestial sphere continues to rotate while inverted. Here, time is eternal. The formless gains form over the course of an eternity. Nothing shares the same form, and no lives differ from one another. It is a phenomenon that is common to all things. Common forms congregate, and thus give form to different laws. Each rare occurrence also represents each great result. Beautiful, just like fish traversing through the vast sea. Will does not exist in this complete world. This world doesn't create persistence or preservation, no symbiosis or hostility. This place welcomes all visitors. It is if a foreign object falls in here for them to exploit, they will, of course, respond to it. The tremendous flow of time is wavering. The collective of magic crests senses the foreign object's intention, but you must be careful. My senses are subverted. I'm seeing illusions. A hidden past not of my own passes me. It was an old memory. Someone else's memory. A memory of parting with someone in the morning. A memory of being placed in a mansion away from Fuyuki once the battle had started. You must be careful. No matter what kind of response to whatever intention, any process conducted by them can only be perceived as by humans as divine punishment. In a body that has no need for eyeballs and a brain, I'm getting dizzy. Information is passing by me. I'm seeing old memories. Parting with a certain someone in the morning. The memory of a person who watched their loved one leave, knowing she would never hold his hands again. Lines from the magic crest are swimming around me, surrounding me while looking for bait. There's nothing I can do. Well, there's nothing a bait can do to begin with. This won't result to anything unless I observe and accept everything like this. Change is ever so slow. Time surrounds me in a spiral, passing through my body. It starts to corrode me, like it's been devouring the void. Characters: 2. Season: winter. Name: farewell. Flowers are being offered. A young girl standing in front of the grave. A priest standing, towering behind the young girl. There are no words. The girl is determined to bury her own sadness yet again today. Foreign substances are invading. Spiraled blades are closing in on the body. It is like a malicious bulb. The crest's transplant has started. I observe the gruesome reality. Fortunately, my function to feel pain is still folded away. I see myself being cuffed, binded, severed, dismembered, compressed, and played with, yet it feels like someone else. Oh, how easy it is to cut the flesh. Oh, how easy it is to shave the bone. The only thing left felt like a soul being eternally tormented. One of my arms turned into that of an insect's. Or it seems like it. How disgusting. This is also her suffering. A type of pain that I've heard resides within the magic crest. I respect her. She harbors this kind of discomfort, or rather horror, that is several times more repulsive inside her body. Yet she's able to laugh like that. She doesn't feel any disgust. When you think like that, what is there to be afraid of? Suddenly, I've come in contact with a particular deep spot. This is mixed in among the memories of farewell and departure. It was an encounter that seared into her heart. Someone was running in the schoolyard. It's a high jump. Someone was running towards the bar again and again. She was standing there, watching the whole thing. It was meaningless, yet he kept trying until sunset. She thought to herself, what is the meaning of this? Yet she kept on watching, as if she was betrayed by something, as if she just witnessed something precious. That was it. An after-school sight that's not unusual at any school. But to her, it was a sight that stirred up a revolution in her heart. Faintly. It was a sight familiar also to me, a sight from the bygone days. Time is returning to the outside. The world is returning completely. The strong self-awareness gained in exchange for my folded-away body is evaporating, just like foam disappearing on the surface of the sea. I was cut away from the inner world as I welcome a strange substance in my arm. My body feels heavy. I open my eyes while I'm still half asleep and try to faintly grasp my surroundings. My consciousness is coming back. I'm lying on the bed facing up with the top half of my body naked. My left shoulder is burning and sweating. When I try to wipe the sweat away, it hurts as if it's suffering from a burn. I thought I was seeing more fingers. It's obvious I'm not the same self from earlier.
そうだ。遠坂、成功したのか。
Just how many hours have passed since then? Don't tell me, did I end up passing out and sleeping while time just passed by?
なんだ。
Tosaka, you're still there. That's a relief. I thought for sure I'd overslept and... Am I imagining this, or is she glaring at me?
遠坂、成功したのか。
もちろん成功したわよ。申し分ないぐらいバッチリ、後遺症なんて出ないぐらいきっかり。そういうのが得意だった綺麗だって、我が弟子ながらよくやったって陰険に褒めるぐらい完璧に。
I'm sure that must be quite the achievement. But somehow Tosaka isn't proud about it, and she doesn't feel like her usual arrogant self. Rather, she's angry. She's really, really angry. I can sense the tension between us. She's clearly sulking about something. I don't know why, but it seems like something has gone wrong. I feel like I need to read her mind immediately and calm her down, but I'm such a bad pupil I'm not able to think of any reason as to why Tosaka would be angry. This persistent pain in my left arm. A strange feeling that's like a combination of sharp pain from deep cuts and a stinging pain from being burnt. Without a doubt. A streak of an elaborately designed seal is branded on my left arm. It looks like Tosaka's magic crest and emits a faint blue light.
登坂、これが。
ええ、私から移植した魔術刻印よ。もうただの回路になって元の魔術の痕跡もないけどね。
そうか。いや、すごいな。もっと痛むと思ったのに全然痛みがない。かすかに重いぐらいか。
それも時期になれるわ。魔力をつなげるだけのパスだから人体にもそう影響はないはずだし。刻印、いえ、回路の方が体に擬態していくから半年もすれば何も感じなくなる。
そうか。じゃあこれで。
移植は完了。基本的には私からシロへの一方通行でそっちから魔力を送ることはできないわ。今の段階でできるのは私の魔力を送ることだけ。ここからはあなたの頑張り次第よ。固有結界を作る魔力はこれでクリアしたんだから、あとは
My problem. All I need to do is fully activate my magic circuit and successfully create the reality marble.
そうだな。ありがとう、登坂。魔術刻印、ありがたくもらっておく。
当然よ。ごめんなんて言わせないわ。お金にしたらもう超クラス、一生ものの貸しなんだから。
そりゃ確かに一生ものだ。で、どうしてそんなに登坂は怒ってるんだ？
見たでしょ。
え？
What did I see exactly? Don't tell me that when I thought I blanked out during the ritual, my body actually acted on its own and did something to Tosaka.
待った。なんかしたのか、俺。
だから見たでしょ、このけだもの。
けだもの。
Not possible. Did I actually do something to her that was so rough she would use that word to describe me? Wait, there's no way that happened. I mean, the bed is tidy, and besides, I wouldn't be alive if anything like that happened.
そうだ。第一、儀式中は俺の目は機能してなかったっていうか、ほとんど真っ白だったし、見たものといえば魔術回路っぽいイメージと。
Ah. Maybe that's what Tosaka was talking about? An illusion I saw for a brief moment. In the state where we were sharing our senses due to the synchronization, it's possible that we could see imagery from each other's mind. It wouldn't be much different than when I saw Saber's dream or heroic spirit Emiya's dream. It all makes sense now. If this is the case, then the only thing I saw that she would care about is the scene taking place at a schoolyard during sunset. Something I haven't seen in my other dreams.
あれだ、登坂変な夢見てただろ。どこかの学校の校庭でバカみたいに棒高跳びしてるやつをずっと日が暮れるまで見ていたの。あれって一体なんだ？
I was hit by a pillow before I could finish my sentence. It was a swift and powerful swing. A critical strike even Saber and Fujine would be proud of. There's another problem. It's the fact that a normal soft pillow can have the impact and damage as if it were filled with water or something.
登坂、何を？
うるさいうるさいうるさい。
She keeps on hitting me with the pillow. Still looking like she did when she started the ritual, Tosaka continues her assault with the pillow.
なんか魔力込めてないか、それ。いいからやめる。変だぞ。何がどうしたんだ？
うるさいけだもの。人の秘密を覗き見ておいて何ふんぞり返ってるのよ。
ちょっと待て。秘密ってあんなのがか？
When I was surprised by her answer, she saw the opening and hit me in the face. That was a swift and powerful pillow uppercut. Maybe it's also the exhaustion from the transplant, but I'm haphazardly knocked down again. Tosaka must still be angry because she grabs me by the back of the neck and starts dragging me across the floor.
いいわよ。いつかこっちから恥ずかしい記憶を覗き返してやるんだから。その時は土下座をしても許さないわよ。
それは勘弁。あれ、もしかして。
She won't hear me out at all. She grabs the back of my neck and throws me out of her room.
エミヤくん、女の子にはいろいろ支度があるから自分の部屋に戻っててくれない？
With that evil grin of hers, Tosaka slams the door. Thrown out into the hallway looking like this, I blankly look up at the door.
バカ言うな。男にだっていろいろあるぞ。
I hold my dizzy head and get up. I thought of saying something back to Tosaka on the other side of the door, but I decided not to. I wasn't able to ask Tosaka what that scene I saw meant to her.
まあ、あれだけ嫌がるってことは何か特別な意味のあることなんだろうし。
Muttering silly stuff like that to myself, I go back to my room. It was probably just an excuse for Tosaka to kick me out, but it's true that there's no time. The date has already changed. There's probably less than an hour left before we head to the temple.
確かに、これは。
I close my eyes and feel the magical energy from Tosaka pouring into me. Tosaka isn't consciously supplying me, yet it's filling my body up. If my maximum magical energy capacity is 20 or 30 units, then she always has 500 units of magical energy. I'm sure it would take years to stock up, but her maximum capacity might reach 1,000 units if someone supplied her.
驚いた。あいつ、本当にすごいやつだったんだ。
That reconfirms it. Or rather, I finally realize it now. Well, she's depleted now, and mages usually only keep about 80% of their magical energy, so Tosaka's magical energy is about 400 units right now. That's still a massive amount of magical energy. I use about 2 units of magical energy to use strengthening magecraft once. To use projection once, I use about 5 units of magical energy on average. Using that example, the projection that I can use only 6 times, at most, could be used 30 or even 60 times with the help of Tosaka.
ま、いくら燃料があっても乗り物が安物ならオーバーヒートするんだろうけど。
But it has still tremendously increased my power. I might even have a chance of winning against that king of heroes like this. All that's left is...
あと1時間。それまでゆっくり体を休めないと。
I'll rest my body and regain my mental and physical strength for one final battle at Ryudo Temple. Everything is set. I'll face the last night with a fully prepared body for Tosaka's sake too, since she gave me her magical crest and opened up to me. Alright. Final battle is nearly here, so we'll end off the episode here for today, and in the next one we will finish Unlimited Blade Works. So... I'll see you all then. Bye.